And breaking news.
Breaking news. With what happens next.
Issue executive orders.
Push through his agenda.
On 570 WKBN.
Is having fun a great way to spend our time? Bingo. And what's a surefire way to have fun? Bingo. Yeah, seriously. Bingo! But not tried and true bingo. There's a new Ohio Lottery scratch-off. It's called Bingo Times 50. At only $10 a play, Bingo Times 50 can multiply winnings up to 50 times and has prizes of up to $500,000. As someone who loves fun, should you play Bingo Times 50 from the Ohio Lottery? The answer is kind of obvious. Bingo. Lottery players are subject to Ohio laws and commission regulations. Play responsibly.
From the Honda store in Boardman, home of 0 down, 0 due at signing, and 0 payments for 30 days.
Roadwork closes Beard Road between Garfield and Columbiana. That's a culvert replacement project and will reopen sometime in late October. I'm Faith Nezovich in the Total Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by the Ben Ferguson Podcast.
Coming up on the Ben Ferguson Podcast, Gavin Newsom is now begging the DOJ to investigate Governor DeSantis for kidnapping after he sends migrants to Martha's Vineyard. I'll explain the politics of all this. Download the Ben Ferguson Podcast now.
Weather brought to you by Bryant and Mazza Heating and Cooling, keeping you comfortable year-round.
It's going to be a beautiful day with a mostly to partly sunny sky. Temperatures will return to the upper 70s this afternoon. Clouds will be increasing late this evening into tonight with a few showers or thunderstorms possible overnight. Overnight temperatures will fall to the low 60s. With your Storm Team 27 forecast, I'm Alex George.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Recycle your old technology free during Staples Free Tech Take Back. Items like old modems, mice, and mobile phones or cables, calculators, and camcorders. Staples Rewards members get $5 back in rewards. Exclusions apply. Limit 1 reward per month. Visit staples.com/recycling. Recycle at Staples.
All right. Good morning, everyone. This is the Dan Rivers Show. I am Joe Danier, sitting in for Dan once again. You probably will have me for a majority of this week. So this is your opportunity. Take the liberty of talking about some of the things that are going on in the world a little bit differently than normal. I have the Mr. Intern again with me. So we have Joey Meyer that's sitting in, and he is a YSU intern. He's in sports broadcasting with telecommunications, and Dr. Earnhardt from that department has lent him into operations. He's getting a feel for what we do at, Youngstown Computer, Youngstown Studio. So he'll be sitting in with the show. So welcome and good morning, Mr. Joey.
Good morning. Thank you.
All right. So a little bit, we touched on a lot of topics yesterday, and one of which was the Trump rally over the weekend. I tell you most of the time, I am not one for political anything. And so I kind of keep free from it because it's such a mental clog. It gets in the way. It gets people fired up. It gets people hating one another. And I think rational and reasonable thought gets suspended once you get into the tribalism that comes, behind what is politics. And so I kind of just stay away from that. I see some of it, on my timeline on Facebook or on my Twitter feed, but for the most part, I try to stay free of it. So when I do these programs, I kind of warm up to what's going on, what's important to people. And so that's the topics that I dug in through today. So if you want to talk to me throughout the program today, the phone number is 330-729-9977. And you can text me also at 333-1570. Those of you know I'm a big SpaceX, Tesla fan. And last night I was granted entry into the full self-driving program. This is a beta program where right now full self-driving in Teslas are basically, it's called autopilot, but it's just like strong level 2, driver assistance, right? It's not really driving itself. It's just doing things like judging the distance on a car in front of you and braking for you and checking speed. So as an assistant, like other manufacturers are doing the same kind of things, it saved a ton of would-be accidents because of the cars becoming a better tool of the driver, so that things like, we're distracted. I mean, if you could look around right now, if you're driving, look around at the people around you. How many people are looking at their phone or their GPS or not paying attention? Lots of them. So we are going to need technology to fill in the gaps because we're not being as attentive or as taking driving very seriously. I'm actually surprised that there aren't many or more more accidents for as little as we pay attention on the road. It's just, I think we're getting better at staying straight in our lane and hitting a speed and texting while we're driving, because from what I see, there should be way more accidents than there actually are. But the full self-driving is promised to be what would be a robo-taxi, where it takes the driver's element completely out of it. You're just a passenger in the car. The car, you tell it where you want it to go, and it traverses all of the lanes and the highways and the traffic signals and gets you there. And you don't have to pay attention. There's not even going to be a front seat or a steering wheel. Eventually, the car is just going to know how to get there. Now, drivers love their ability to go places, right? But they also like being a driver. I mean, it is exhilarating to drive fast and to, I've owned a ton of performance cars, or I've driven a ton of performance cars. I've owned a couple of them. And, there's nothing like, a V8 around the, tight turns on the turnpike through Pennsylvania. That's like one of my favorite things. So, putting the driving ability into technology, even if it's doing it safer and it's getting you there, there's a missing element to what it means to be able to be mobile and to drive around. And I think, in certain times I'd love to give that up. But what happens when the steering wheel disappears and you can't be a driver, that the car is the driver? But I'm entered into this program. I drove myself to work today. And really the only time that I had to interrupt the driver's assist was when it was taking too long to make a decision, because the driver behind me was an actual driver. And so when it's slowly creeping up and making a judgment whether or not it's safe to pull out, the person behind me is saying, what the heck is going on? Is this driver fall asleep? And so that's really the only time when it's taking too long, I had to take over and make the commitment turn. It would have eventually gotten there. I'm sure of it. It would just taken probably 5 times as long as a human being, to make that decision. So if you've got we're going to talk a lot about some automations here in the beginning of the program. So if you've got any opinions on that, give me a call, 330-729-9977. We're a week away. Let me see, the 30th. So yeah, a couple weeks away from AI Day at Tesla. And this is where the company, like Tesla Automotive, has created a bunch of robotics to build their cars. Right. And so they invested very heavily in mechanical capital, and they figured out that sometimes human beings are better than robots at doing some of these functions. Theoretically, robots should be better because they work around the clock. They don't need to take breaks. They don't, need to be fed or complain or whatever. But there's just some functions of making a quality product that needs a human eyeball and a touch in order to get these things done. So they've added a ton more human beings and removed some of the robots that just were incapable of doing some of those functions. Now, at AI Day on the 30th, they are releasing a humanoid robot, one that is, its name is Optimus, and it actually has a shell that is framed after a human being. It has shoulders, it has a head, it has legs, it can move around and is mobile like a human being. Now, in the future, these humanoids will be programmable to do human functions better than, if you've ever looked at manufacturing, you see these robotics are basically these big arms that move around with servos, and they're kind of clunky, right? They don't have a human feel to it. They have a very robotic feel to it. But humanoids are built and designed on the framework of a human being. So it may be able, through programming, be able to get closer to what a human being can do. And so it brings up interesting questions when you know that on the chopping block might be, it felt pretty good when I said human beings might be still necessary to do a better job than robotics. It felt good, like, yeah, go human beings, right? But when I say that they made a robot that's closer analog to human being, you're like, uh-oh, this might be a problem. And so if, I start thinking when we have humanoids, if I were to, say, hey, Joe, the order system's open, buy your humanoid, what would I have it do? Like, what is the first customer for humanoids? What do we need the most? There are manufacturing jobs every day are being eroded more with robotics, so that you have low level skilled labor that are just being decimated by what robotics can do. And this humanoid thing might take the next rung of human labor. Like, could I get a we have tractors that will automatically go and harvest the fields. Now we have robotics that will do assembly line type of work. Could you have a humanoid roaming around your yard doing landscaping? I mean, it's probably a very programmable thing. If it's a repetitious programmable function, like it doesn't take a lot of evaluation or analyzation, you could program it. You had the Roomba floor sweepers. Like you can think of 1,000 things that a robot would be in your world, give you more free time, maybe even stand in and go to work for you at times. Maybe may be another part of the household that can go out and get a paycheck. Like think about if you could program 5 humanoids to go to work for you and collect 5 paychecks. I mean, that might be worth the investment. So if you have an idea of what you would hire a humanoid for, so Joey, you're in that era, right? You're in that age group that would probably a little bit more open to hiring a humanoid or buying a humanoid, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, what would you have it do?
Mow the yard for one.
Mow the yard?
Yeah, landscaping you hit on, mowing the yard, and probably just your chores around the house. Like
So all chores.
yeah,
Would you send it to work to get another paycheck?
if it's possible, yeah,
Okay.
make it pay its dues.
Okay. Would you send it off to fight your enemies?
I'm sure that's eventually gonna what happen. It's all gonna be robots fighting. Probably.
How about go rob a bank?
No,
You're not going to have it rob a
Nah.
bank. Okay.
no banks.
Okay. Do you think sports one day will be played with robots and we can maybe even escalate the level of violence we can have in a sport because robots will be doing it?
I don't think robots will be in sports. I think you'll see robot like umps and refs and all that. The only thing I could think of is that movie. I think it's called Real Steel with the robot boxers.
Okay.
I could see that happening.
Okay. Now that's a good point. Like if you have robots with sensors being able to referee things, do you think it will be more accurate? Because I mean, referees have been the biggest complaint over the last 5 years of how much game-changing bad calls have been done by human beings trying to see things.
Yeah, I think you'll give a little bit more insight. I think baseball will benefit it more than anything, especially if you have a automatic strike zone that the robot knows what to gauge from. Every actual person umpires all judgmental based off height and how they are calling stuff that game. They could switch from one inning to another. I think the robots will be more easygoing and more, calling the game 9 innings instead of calling the game inning by inning.
So let's just say that we have 40 million people that are displaced by robots that could do what they were used to do for a living, and now they're at home. What do you do with the human beings that used to have those jobs? It's going to be a thing. I mean, you got to figure. We got to figure out what we're going to do with those people because they're obviously going to. You would say, hey, go pick something else, but that's a hard ask. I mean, what if somebody came up to you and said, hey, I know you've got your 20 years into this job, but it's not here anymore. Go find something else.
I guess maybe the only thing I could think of would be retail. Maybe I don't see how
I can see retail being taken by that's probably one of the first that are going to be replaced by automation and robots.
Yeah.
Look at Walmart. I mean, you have the self-checkout. Yeah. You have all of the Amazon stores where they tag the products and you walk out the door and it just bills you for whatever's in your cart. I mean, that's going to be gone too. So retail's going to disappear. Some of your more, low skilled labor places are going to be replaced. Again, like trained engineers and people who used to drive semis, they're going to be eventually replaced. That's a lot of people that used to do stuff that no longer have that job. Are there enough other things to put all of those people?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think there's enough jobs out there for everybody. And if robots are going to come in and take them, there's going to be very few left then.
Right. So it is definitely worth thinking about from a policy standpoint of what the heck you're going to do with these people who are looking at you like, what the heck? 330-729-9977. Let's go to Jay. Jay, you're on the Dan Rivers program. How can I help you?
Hey, good morning.
Hi.
Wanted to build on yesterday's conversation and link it to today.
Sure.
So yesterday you guys had a great conversation about inflation. And when you think about the stepping stones of how did we get here, and this plays into the robotics question, If you are a business owner, and let's say you have a McDonald's franchise, COVID hits, and all the money is printed, and yesterday there was a comment that 80% of the currency has been created in the past since year 2020, past couple years. So now you see the signs on McDonald's that says $15 to $16 an hour starting salary, and you don't know who's going to show up for work, and every day you're figuring out if you can keep a shift going, and when the federal government starts to get off the Constitution and picking who's going to stay open, and we're going to give out this free money, well, now all of a sudden, robotics, sensors, how do you replace people becomes much, much more convincing and a much more, I'll say, feasible investment for business owners. And because the price of people has gone up because of the inflation. So it's just interesting to see the negative effects. And I know yesterday that we had the gentleman on the financial was talking about how emotional it was back in COVID, and we can't forget that, and I understand that. But when governments react to emotional decisions, this is the output, is that we are going to have now, which we never had before, business investment in automation and robotics, because the payoff is finally there. Whenever you have $15 to $16 an hour is what you have to pay to get somebody to do that entry-level job. So it all kinds of ties together. And the other thing that I would say is, and I'll channel Milton Friedman again, whose responsibility is it if you work at retail and you see this robotics coming? Whose responsibility is it to go figure out what I'm going to do and when and how I'm going to upskill myself?
All right, Jay, can you hold on the line real quick? I'm going to come right back to you after this break.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. We're going to put Jay on hold. 330-729-9977. You can text me at 333-1570. You're listening to The Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
100 years ago, in 1921, the law offices of Johnson & Johnson opened our doors. 1 century later, we're still here, with our 4th generation proudly serving the legal needs of the Mahoning Valley. So if you're in need of solid legal counsel regarding business law, trusts, estate planning, or wills, call the law offices of Johnson & Johnson today at 533-1921. That's 533-1921. Johnson & Johnson, since 1921. Legal counsel for the times of your life.
As the only Ohio House candidate who is former law enforcement, I've witnessed firsthand how important protecting our jobs, education, and Constitution is. For the last decade, I've been on the front lines helping hardworking Ohioans keep their businesses, develop our workforce, and support the best environment for our children to learn in. That's why I've been endorsed by both teachers and workers alike. On day one, I'll be ready to represent you. I'm Vince Peterson. On November 8th, I'd be honored to have your vote.
Paid for by Friends of Vince Peterson.
If there's one thing our country needs now, it's hope. The God Loves You Tour is bringing hope to Youngstown, featuring music from the Newsboys, Marcos Witt, and a message from Franklin Graham.
Remember this, God loves you.
The God Loves You Tour, coming to the Youngstown Foundation Amphitheater, Tuesday, September 27th. Details at godlovesyoutour.com. godlovesyoutour.com.
There's one noise that 85 people didn't want to hear. The judge's gavel when they were convicted for stealing taxpayer money. That's 85 corrupt public officials convicted because of State Auditor Keith Faber's work, like the village employee entrusted with collecting utility payments, convicted of stealing nearly $250,000. Keith Faber caught him. Or a deputy county auditor who stole more than $1 million by creating a fake company and invoicing the county. Keith Faber caught him. Or a sheriff who stole money from the evidence room. Keith Faber caught him.
This is Keith Faber, and I'm just getting started. From discovering and calling out $5 billion in unemployment fraud to weeding out government corruption, I'm watching out for your hard-earned tax dollars.
Faber. When public officials break the trust, Keith Faber's watching. Paid for by Friends of Faber.
Well, happy Tuesday. I hope you're well. Sometimes this is a day when people do a lot of transacting simply because Mondays are so doggone business. But I want to talk to you about my friends at Columbiana Buick Cadillac Chevrolet, the no-pressure dealership in Columbiana. They are so low-key. You're going to love this dealership. Now, here's something I want you to know. You may not know this. Columbiana, they purchase the inventory from local stock, well-serviced cars and trucks, and they also restock from your trade-in or your direct sale to the dealership. So a number of ways. First of all, local stock, they're looking for it all the time. Cars that they have serviced and customers, they bring them in and trade them in, so they've got a pedigree. And they'll also take your trade-in, or they will buy your car directly from you. Columbiana presently does not purchase from auctions, and they never purchase rentals. I thought you'd want to know that, and I hope you can use that information. DriveColumbiana.com. Go there right now. You can start chatting about a car. DriveColumbiana.com. Tell them Dan sent you.
Every search you make, every click you take, they'll be watching you.
Tired of companies like Google and Facebook watching everything you do online? There's actually a simple solution. DuckDuckGo. It's an all-in-one privacy app with a built-in private search engine, web browser, one-click data clearing, email protection, and more, all for free. Download the app today and get the most comprehensive privacy protection with the push of a button. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
At EasyCater, food for work is our thing. Maybe that's why we get orders from 93% of Fortune 500 companies. So what's up with the other 7%?
So sorry the food is late.
You should order through EasyCater. Professionally delivered on time and as ordered.
Totally would, but the E is broken on my keyboard.
Just get IT to fix it.
Totally would. Can't type the word help.
Why don't all companies order through EasyCater? Who knows? Order 24/7 from over 95,000 restaurants on EasyCater.com. EasyCater, food for work. That's our thing.
All right, I got your Storm Team 27 forecast brought to you by Team Office. We got today partly cloudy with a high of 78 degrees. We got a chance of showers tomorrow, 70% chance with a high of 86. So we still got that steamy weather. And then Thursday, high of 65 with another rain shower possible. 330-729-9977. This text messenger says that, let's see, the train engineers got a 24% raise. And so that goes along with what we were talking about with Jay on the other side of the last set of commercials, and that, we're pricing ourselves where automations become a better possibility. So Jay, I'm bringing you back on here. Question is, just like I asked Joey here, what do we do with the people that we then have replaced with these automations? If you're talking about like this big group of cash of 40 million people that get displaced, I mean, what do you can possibly consider doing with them?
Well, right now we've got, I think, 2 jobs open for every person who's collecting unemployment. So that is not our problem. The problem is we don't have enough people to do the work, which is why automation is also very attractive right now. But the question, I would rephrase it not to what do we do, but it's an individual choice that they all have to ask of what am I going to do? And I'll use myself as an example. When I went into college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And this was a 17-year-old farm kid from Western Pennsylvania. And I asked a very simple question. Do all these credits cost the same? Answer, yes. Which occupation pays the most when I graduate? Engineering. Okay. So even at 17, unsophisticated, I came up with a plan of let's go into engineering. And so I did. And so it has served me well. I think that everybody has to figure that out on their own. But I think there is a tremendous amount of opportunity out there in things like try to hire a software engineer or somebody who's an expert in cybersecurity. And so the ability of people to go get upskilled and to have somebody pay for that, especially if you've been displaced from your job, there is so much free money and free programs out there. When I went through school, there was a lot of guys coming out of the steel mills in their 30s and 40s. And I used to think, man, I don't know. Are these guys, and they're in an engineering class. I'm thinking, I don't know if they're going to make it or not. These guys are starting with basic math. Those returning adult students who knew what it was like to go work in a steel mill, in a year and a half, they were pulling straight A's while the rest of us were pulling B's and C's. because they knew what was on the other side and what reality was waiting out there. So I'm going to say people have the ability to do it. They have to figure it out for themselves. And right now, there has never been a time in maybe generations with the opportunity to go get upskilled and get a new job.
All right, Jay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. If you want to get on the line, 330-729-9977. Text me at 333-1570. You're listening to the Dan Rivers program on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
40 times smaller than a grain of salt, particle pollution can be inhaled deeply into our lungs, causing serious health problems such as heart attacks, cardiac arrhythmias, and more. Visit MahoningValleyAir.org to learn about your local air quality and how to combat air pollution.
When you run a business, you don't have time for a pest or rodent infestation. If you see one, you know there's more hiding. Damage to your reputation can be irreparable. Call today for a free quote. Got bugs? Just say Grace at graceexterminating.com.
At EasyCater, food for work is our thing. Maybe that's why we get orders from 93% of Fortune 500 companies. So what's up with the other 7%?
So sorry the food is late.
You should order through EasyCater. Professionally delivered on time and as ordered.
Totally would, but the E is broken on my keyboard.
Just get IT to fix it.
Totally would. Can't type the word help.
Why don't all companies order through EasyCater? Who knows? Order 24/7 from over 95,000 restaurants on EasyCater.com. EasyCater, food for work. That's our thing.
When it comes to immigration, what's happening?
We have a secure border.
Dropping off large groups of illegal immigrants.
Crisis by ambush.
Check in at the top of the hour. Inflation reduction. And get the very latest.
It's historic.
Families can't afford gas, groceries, or electricity. It's in Russia.
So what is the right response when it comes to Putin?
The day's news.
Tell the truth.
Is on.
His regime, a terrorist state.
570 WKBN.
Wall Street opening lower today as the Federal Reserve begins its two-day meeting. At its conclusion tomorrow, look for interest rates to be up once again. Most analysts think it'll be another 3/4-point hike. ABC Chief Business Correspondent Rebecca Jarvis has more on what it means.
For your credit card, if you're carrying a $5,000 balance and interest rates go up, it means you'll pay a lot more. Already, you're paying about $870 more in interest because rates have already been rising. It will balloon to about $1,161 if the Fed hikes by 75 basis points, which is what's expected.
The sheriff of Bexar County, Texas, and San Antonio is opening an investigation into Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' move, allegedly offering Venezuelan migrants food, shelter, and jobs if they flew to Martha's Vineyard. He says they were all lured and misled. Power still out to most of Puerto Rico after Hurricane Fiona barreled through this week. Fiona now over Turks and Caicos is a Category 3 storm. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
We're a country of so many voices, yet some still struggle to be heard. Let your voice be heard. News Radio 570, WKBN.
Weather brought to you by Bryant and Mazza Heating and Cooling, keeping you comfortable year-round.
It's going to be a beautiful day with a mostly to partly sunny sky. Temperatures will return to the upper 70s this afternoon. Clouds will be increasing late this evening into tonight with a few showers or thunderstorms possible overnight. Overnight temperatures will fall to the low 60s. With your Storm Team 27 forecast, I'm Alex George.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores.
The can't-miss music event of the year is finally here.
Our 2022 iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Featuring once-in-a-lifetime performances from the biggest superstars.
Live from T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. This Friday and Saturday night, starting at 10 p.m.
Watch on the CW app and CWTV.com. And listen on iHeartRadio.
Capital One is the proud partner of the iHeartRadio Music Festival for the 6th year in a row, bringing great products, rewards, and services to its customers. What's in your wallet?
Youngstown Computer. Our priority is your emergency. If your system is down, call us for our emergency response. YoungstownComputer.com. The Valley's technology company. Call us 330-259-7278.
Get the #1 rated spray-in truck bed liner on sale now. Rhino Lining spray-in bed liner is on sale at Canfield Rhino Liners. Our pros install the Rhino spray-in bed liner right here locally in Canfield with a lifetime guarantee. Call us at 330-702-8888. Our expert staff can help you with Rhino spray-in bed liners, crown rust protection, and truck accessories too. So call the pros at Canfield Rhino now at 330-702-8888 or CanfieldRhino.com.
How about this? Celebrating over 40 years in business, Boardman Coin and Jewelry. Market Street, Boardman, Great East Plaza, Niles. Buying it all. Gold, silver, diamonds, coins, jewelry, and watches. Come in. Get your best price before you sell. Boardman, Coin, and Jewelry buyers.
If you're like most Americans, you're pretty much in disbelief with what's going on in the world. As we all know, global problems are having local consequences. Too many of them. And if the peanut butter really hits the fan, are you ready? Grocery store supply chains are only as strong as their weakest link. Don't wait for them to break. Now's the time to secure emergency food for everyone in your family. My Patriot Supply is America's largest preparedness company. Our specially packaged and delicious food stays fresh for up to 25 years in storage. It'll be there when you need it. Go to mypatriotsupply.com and pick up several emergency food kits. There are a dozen different sizes that average over 2,000 calories per day. Our food kits will ship quickly and discreetly to your door. Having food storage in your home beats government food lines hands down. Go to mypatriotsupply.com today and prepare for what's coming. mypatriotsupply.com.
Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods in Canfield since 1960. Truly a family business. Hi, Dan Rivers for Baird Brothers. Baird Brothers endeavors to keep prices low. So that's why you need to check out the bargain tree when you go to Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. BairdBrothers.com.
Computers, copiers, and phones are the lifeline of your business.
Hi, this is Tom Reevely, President of Team Office Technologies. Call the team text for complete IT management and support. You'll avoid problems and disruptions on your computer network, VoIP phones, and copier multifunction devices, so you can get back to the business of running your business.
Avoid downtime with malfunctioning equipment. Give Team Office a call today at 330-792-3100.
Team Office, do it for you. Team Text to the rescue.
Computers, copiers, and phones are the lifeline of your business.
Hi, this is Brian Higgins, Vice President of Team Office Technology. Call the team text for complete business IT management and support. You'll avoid problems and disruptions with your computer networks, VoIP phones, and copier multifunction devices, so you can get back to the business of running your business.
Avoid downtime with malfunctioning equipment. Give Team Office a call today at 330-792-3100.
Team Office, do it for you. Team Text to the rescue.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers program. I am Joe Danier, in for Dan today and at least tomorrow. And so we get to talk about things a little bit differently. I started off the program talking about robotics and humanoids. We were talking with Jay before the last break about that right now, even with human beings, that we have a bunch of people who or jobs that we can't fill. So creating some automations is very necessary, and so that we can keep production of things going, even though we have limited people to fill those roles. The main question that I had was, what do we do with the people who will be displaced from these? And Jay suggested that we have, educational technologies that will allow people to kind of level up on their skills and get into new territories. But my suggestion is that there's some that just won't. And just from a, practical standpoint, civilization needs people to occupy themselves with purpose and having an outlet for a job. And that means that, the first net for humanity to be caught is the low skilled job, because, the requirements are that anybody as beat up and as broken as possible can at least have something that they can start making a wage, and it keeps them out of trouble and it gives them hope and purpose. And so psychologically, civilization needs there to be a lot more people that are have opportunities. And when you say, well, leveling up your skills, that's assuming that there's a bunch of us that can do that, right? There's some people that drop through that and can't. And so showing up and doing a labor job where you're doing landscaping, where you can show up that day and use your back to be able to help somebody get a job done, versus, a robot that can do the same thing. And so from a civilization standpoint, what do you do? Like, how do you keep things stable and people safe if you have people running around that don't have the prospect for low skilled labor And what do you expect them to do? The crime is going to be really the most advantageous option, right? So 330-729-9977. This person says that we need robots because Americans are the laziest people on the planet. Simple fact. This person says that in our lifetime, there will be no cars that have no steering wheel. So that person feels like the automations that we're talking about with Tesla isn't going to be a practical thing down the road. But if you have some kind of, if you have an opinion on the robotics, or if you just want to tell me what you would do with your humanoid if you were allowed to purchase one, I feel like some days that I don't have enough hours in the day. And if, when I go through my time allotment, if I can have somebody learn or something learn what I do and then take some of that stuff off of my plate, I don't know that I become a better human being. I think I might become even lazier than I am right now. And, most of the stuff I do, I want to be doing. And if you would take some of the responsibilities away from me, I don't think that sets human beings in a good trajectory. I think we'll just take all of the things that build your character and make you strong and have all the facets of responsibility and take that away from you. Now you just do what you want and you get to play. It's a much different scenario in the future when you don't have to work. You have 24 hours in a day, you spend 8 hours sleeping, you spend 8 hours in toil, and you have 8 hours in for entertainment. What happens when you slide that out and you get to just freely express yourself for 16 hours a day? I'll tell you what would happen with me. I would get in trouble. I would probably mess some things up. My busyness keeps me occupied enough that my brain doesn't let me get into as much trouble as it otherwise would. So, I guess I don't have a lot of faith where we're at right now as far as day to day that we have enough influence and we have enough responsibility to keep people doing the right thing. I mean, every time you hear a shooting that happens or a robbing or a stabbing, that's a person, right, that broke the law, and there wasn't something to keep them from not breaking the law. The threat of repercussions, the opportunity. I mean, there's a reason why you have a lot of lawlessness, and that's why I'm suggesting if you take opportunity away, you get even more of that. So your future now, we bring Joey. If you've not met, this is the intern that's coming from YSU Telecommunications. And so, Joey, what do you think about how the stability of civilization with people? Do you think there's enough influence to keep people doing the right thing?
No.
No?
No, I think the more we look at it, I think the farther we go, there's going to be more and more chaos. Because people know that there isn't really anybody telling them not to keep doing it. They just say words, but nobody's enforcing anything on it. And it's just going to keep going farther and farther to the point where it'll be nonstop.
Well, we have an interest in not letting that be the case. And I honestly think, this is Joe's opinion here, I think the influence of Christianity on our culture made a lot more people do the right thing because of the fear of God and the fear of their religion, right? And every year, secular, right, that culture gets eroded a little bit, where the benefits of having that, say, I would prefer to have that than not have it. If I have godless people who don't fear anything and there's no repercussion that's going to change their whatever, then there's no controls that are going to keep them doing the right thing. I don't have a lot of faith in secular humanism that suggests that people are going to do the right thing in spite of hopelessness. That works when things are good. What happens when you have a crisis? Do those people like, no, I've got secular humanism, I'm going to do the right thing? I don't think there's enough of that influence to push on people to keep them doing the right thing. That's my biggest fear, is that we go forward, something big happens where some of our civilization goes into that crisis mode, and then you get this primal reaction from people who don't fear any religion or don't have an influence to keep them doing the right thing. So a couple text messages, 330-729-9977. It says, morning, Joe. When I was in school, I really enjoyed reading sci-fi books about the future and humanoids, etc. But now that it's approaching us, living in that kind of world is not all that appealing anymore. Do you remember the song In the Year 2525? If you haven't or don't, I remember it. If you should listen to it, it's kind of eerie in a way. Well, and that's the thing. Like science fiction just had this extreme habit of being able to kind of know what was going to happen, because it's almost like it's in the cards, and it's so it's so likely to occur. We're going to do space travel. We're going to be a space-faring civilization. We're going to break things. We're going to fix things. I mean, the innovations from the beginning, the only thing we haven't done is haven't stayed the same. So if you kind of just look out and what's probable, and you set that in front of us, we will make technology that gets better, right? We will get technology and software that makes predictions. I was using Google the other day, and for the most part, I use Google and I'm logged in with my Google account. Well, I used Google and I wasn't logged in as anything, and it's 100% a different experience, because when you're logged in as you have the algorithm serving you information that you almost take for granted. Like even when I'm driving in my car, my car kind of knows what I do, what time I leave for things, what paths I take, and if you didn't have that, right? If that was taken away from you, you're like, wow, you know what? Just having this natural sucks a little bit, and so what the software element. Amazon, I preach about this all the time, that Amazon looks at your purchasing history and starts moving the products that you order closer to you, so that when you order it, you get it in a single day. Try doing an Amazon without those algorithms, and things take longer, and it's just not as good as a quality product. So these things are making its way, but all those sci-fi people were like, okay, well, what happens one day when it goes rogue, when it is used against you? You gave your trust in a system that was serving you really well by, qualifying information before it gets to you. But what happens if tyranny takes effect and now it is used as a weapon against you? And so if you look out at the horizon, these two things, weaponized algorithms, right, to either limit your speech or make it so that people can't find you or hear you, or they bury you, right, in the technology that you supported. And two, when your occupation one day gets taken over by a humanoid and everybody just says, hey, go skill up, right? Those two things are going to happen. And that's why we're talking about them today, because we've got a plan as a society. I agree with Jay that half the population is going to do that. We're going to adapt. That's what human beings do, is we adapt. And I'm just suggesting that not everybody adapts the same way. Some people adapt the right way, and some people adapt the criminal way. If you're hungry and you don't have food, adapting would be to find someone who has food and take their food. Look throughout history. That's what we do. All right. We run out of resources. Hey, the country over there has resources. We conquer that country and take their resources. That's how we adapt. And sometimes it's sophisticated and it's moral, and sometimes it's what we have to do and it's very primitive. But that's just what human beings do. So thank you for that text message. Let's see. Every book fundamentally comes from the first book, the Bible. I'm not a Bible thumper or overly religious. It's just a fact. We have this conversation, philosophical discussions in the morning, and we look back throughout history and figure out why, what happened in the beginning that put us on this trail to where we are today. And a lot of it ends up in sort of religious philosophy, where people wanted to explain things they didn't understand, and they would go through all of what they did know, and they tried to figure out what they didn't know. So half the time when people, think about, let's bring religion out of it, but let's just say, some people were getting sick, right, and didn't understand why they were getting sick, and you don't have a grasp on the sciences behind why somebody's getting sick. What else do you do? But you try to discover ways of putting your brain at peace with what's happening. And so we have created the mechanisms to make life worth living and life a happy pursuit, and try to explain things that we didn't understand. And every year that goes by, we get a little bit better at understanding how our worlds work, which allows us to get into more territories and figure more stuff out. It's just what we do. But as this text messenger stated, I would much rather have God-fearing people that have, are restrained because of their not knowing. They don't know if they're going to be stricken down if they, murder their neighbor. There's the 10 commandments are pretty useful in getting people to, on a basic level, to conform to moral justices, right? Don't kill people is pretty self-explanatory. You don't have to go into much religious doctrine to figure out why. All you have to do reverse it. Like, should I kill this person? And say, would I like to be killed? I'll probably not. So let's not do that, right? But think about all the kids that are hopeless, that if you ask the question, hey, do you care about dying? And they're like, no, I don't care about dying. Okay, so that doesn't work anymore, because the hopelessness is this person is a wrecking ball. Like, they don't care about dying. So obviously they're not going to care about killing, because that's been somehow squeezed out of them in whatever culture that they're living in. And that's why we started this topic out, where I don't think what taking a couple million people and displacing them with what work they have right now and just telling them to go figure it out is going to be a really good plan. I think we're going to really regret that. But I am a big proponent of the adaptation. What human beings are really good at is figuring out. So if you go back in time, you have a horse and buggy, and the car comes along and you're like, oh no, we're going to destroy things and take jobs away. Well, somehow I think the automobile created more opportunity than the horse and buggy. And maybe it took some people out that knew the horse and buggy pretty well and made them skill up into the automobile for sure. But if you snapshot where today, I think most of those people were able to figure it out. So that's a little bit of, lends itself to the argument that no matter what happens, it's going to happen so slow, and that we're going to be able to take and figure out what to do with these people. There was a book I read, or maybe we were discussing it on the computer show on the weekend, but it basically took people that couldn't find skill sets and put them on a treadmill, and the treadmill would generate electricity for their robotic masters. So it turned people into energy creators, which was obviously a very absurd use of human beings for energy generation. But we've been thinking about this problem through science fiction for as long as I've been alive. So I think, like I said, it's going to happen slow enough that smart people are going to be working on this problem. We're going to do the moral and ethical thing, and we'll get it right in the end. I'm sure we're just really good at winning in the end. 330-729-9977. Anthony, I see your call out there. As soon as we go back for this break, I'll come to you. You can also text me at 333-1570. You're listening to the Dan Rivers program on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
All of this road salt and brine is destroying your vehicle. Don't worry, now you can get the best rust inhibitor available, Crown Rust Protection, and it's only $159 or less. Crown Rust Protection is located in Canfield at Canfield Rhino Liners and Crown Rust Proofing. Call 330-702-8888 for an immediate appointment. Our professionals can help you with Crown Rust Protection, Rhino Spray and Bed Liners, and truck accessories. Just call 330-702-8888 or CanfieldRhino.com.
The border crisis has never been worse. The wall sits unfinished because Joe Biden stopped construction. Hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants are flooding into our country. We need to hire more border agents. But what did Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi do about it?
This is Bill Johnson, and I'll tell you what they did. They approved hiring 87,000 new agents. But wait, not Border Patrol agents. Biden and Pelosi are hiring 87,000 more IRS agents. Our border is wide open, and these new IRS tax agents will make sure your wallet is wide open. Let's take back Congress, scale back the IRS, and bring back border security. That's the fight. Now's the time. Join the fight. I'm Bill Johnson, and I approve this message. Paid for by Johnson for Congress.
Hey, it's Dan Rivers. When you need to sell your home, you need an agent that you can trust. That's Kelly Warren of Kelly Warren and Associates Real Estate Solutions.
Go to kellysold.com.
And we're going to go out and check in with Mike out at the coin shop. Hey, Mike, what's happening?
Hi, Dave. The markets are still holding strong. Gold and silver prices have fluctuated wildly, but they are still up. So if you've got a coin collection or you've got some old jewelry or any type of gold or silver, platinum that you want to have evaluated and possibly sell, bring it in and see us. Now, as always, there is never any pressure to sell. Bring in your items, let us see what they are. We're going to tell you what they're worth. We're going to make you an offer. And if you want to sell them, we're going to pay you on the spot. If you want to keep them, we're going to smile and say, thanks for coming to see us. So on the other end of that, if you'd like to invest in gold and silver, come on in and see us. I will give you a complete education about how to invest in precious metals. And yes, I can beat the prices that you see online. So when you're looking at these places that sell online with free shipping and everything, I'll beat those prices and you can take it home that day. So come on and see us. We're here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 10 to 5, Thursday, 10 to 3, and we're closed Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can reach us at 330-755-1400.
Diabetes, vitamin deficiency, chemotherapy, it can all cause peripheral neuropathy, and the list is long. But if you have peripheral neuropathy, my message to you, there is hope. Through light therapy, Dr. Sean Ritchie and company have set up tri-state neuropathy centers in Poland and all over Western Pennsylvania. But the one you need is in Poland, 330-953-3339, 330-953-3339, or Tri-State Neuropathy Centers, marydanstin.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/trial. That's ZipRecruiter.com/trial.
Research shows listeners prefer a personalized experience. So to help you remember, Liberty Mutual customizes your home insurance. We personalized this ad for Amber, who really misses boy bands from the 90s.
Hey girl, I'm the cute one, here to tell you how Liberty Mutual customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
I'm the heartthrob. The only thing I love more than you is saving. And I'm the other boy in the band everyone forgot about.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Tired of the news about how everything is costing more?
Everything is stubbornly high.
Us too. That's why we made the iHeartRadio app absolutely free. When you download the free iHeartRadio app, you have the radio stations you love at your fingertips whenever you want, wherever you want, along with millions of podcasts from the news you crave to the true crime series you can't resist. Playlists to fit any mood or activity. And here's the part you don't want to miss. It's all free. Download the free iHeartRadio app and discover music, radio, and podcasts you'll love.
iHeartRadio.
All right, I got your Storm Team 27 forecast brought to you by Team Office. Today we got no rain, high of 78 degrees. Wednesday we got a chance of thunderstorms, high of 86 degrees, so it's still going to be pretty warm. And then Thursday we got a chance of rain, high of 65 degrees. So that's going to feel a little bit more like fall weather. So moving right on to the calls, 330-729-9977. Let's talk to Anthony. Anthony, you're on the Dan Rivers program. How can I help you?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Talking about robots and stuff like that, work in the workplace and things like that. I'm retired, but I can tell you how my work experience got better because of computers and different things like that. I was a service technician. I traveled the state of Ohio, so I'd be out and about and staying in motels and different things like that. So at first we had flip phones. And, that was a great thing. We could communicate to the office and stuff like that. But it created problems because, you'd call into the office and you had a problem and you'd talk to one of the secretaries there. And then you'd start talking about how was your day? What's the weather like down there and everything. And it made the process slow. Okay. But then we got iPhone 6 Pluses. Okay. And this really worked out because they said from now on, you either email us with what you need or you text us with what you need. So that made everything move along faster on that end. And also before we had the iPhones, we'd have to come back to the motel, open up our laptops and do 2 and 3 hours sometimes of paperwork a night. Well, with the iPhone 6 at that time, we were able to just do our paperwork right after we finished the particular service call that we were on and send it in. I mean, it made everything so much easier. And that's what automation, I guess, does and computer stuff. That's what it did for us. Sometimes I'd get to the motel room and I'd be on that computer for 3 hours trying to figure out what I needed, to set my paperwork in and stuff. And I couldn't sleep. And here I figured I had maybe that blue screen or something like that, And then you get up the next morning and you're tired and you got to drive another 100 miles or 200 miles to get to where you have to go, And it just helped out a lot. And with the iPhones, the GPSs became more just much better and everything like that. And then in the truck, when iHeartRadio came on, you listen to iHeartRadio.
All right, let me put you on hold, Anthony. I got to go off to a break. 330-729-9977. You're listening to the Dan Rivers program on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
During this interruption, let's talk about disruption, emerging new channels, cookieless media. Marketers, are you missing out on one of the most engaged audiences in today's new open web? With Viant's programmatic software Adelphic, stay in tune with digital audio, stream the future on CTV, and level up with in-game, so you can see an average 3 times return on ad spend, maybe even on this very program next time. Viant, built for the new open web. Built for now. Visit ViantNow.com to learn more.
Inflation is hammering working families, crime is rising, and America is more divided than ever. I'm Nick Santucci. I'm running for state representative because we need experienced leaders who can deliver results. Being a state representative is not an entry-level job. I've worked with both business and labor to develop our workforce and create job opportunities to keep our young people in the Valley. I've dedicated my career to help turn our area around, and I'm ready to serve our community in Columbus. Vote Nick Santucci for state representative. It's about people, not politics. Paid for by friends of Nick Santucci.
From the Columbiana Cadillac Buick Chevrolet Studios. Available everywhere with the iHeartRadio app. Now, #1 for podcasting. 570 WKBN, Youngstown.
From ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres telling world leaders today that nations are gridlocked in a colossal global dysfunction and are not ready to tackle together the challenges threatening the future of humanity. Getting at least partial blame, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok.
Social media platforms based on a business model that monetizes outrage, anger, and negativity are causing untold damage to communities and societies.
And at the start of the General Assembly, Guterres also says a cost of living crisis is on the horizon, global trust is crumbling, and the planet is burning up. He also mentioned the war in Ukraine, where this morning the separatist leaders of 4 Russian-controlled areas said they are planning a vote later this week on whether to become a part of Russia. Hurricane Fiona is battering Turks and Caicos after knocking out power to almost all of Puerto Rico. ABC's Victor Oquendo is there.
While some have had power restored, the company that operates the grid here in Puerto Rico says it's going to take days before power is fully restored to the entire island. But if you speak with residents here who deal with blackouts on a regular basis, they expect it to take longer than that.
When the Federal Reserve's 2-day meeting is over tomorrow, look for another interest rate hike of 0.75%. ABC's Rebecca Jarvis has more on how that's affecting everyday Americans hoping to buy a home.
On a $300,000 mortgage, the difference in interest rates over the course of this year is dramatic. Already, we're seeing the 30-year fixed rate mortgage above 6% for the first time since 2008. That was the Great Recession, the financial crisis. And that means on a $300,000 mortgage, you went from paying about $1,700 monthly a month ago to now $1,850 per month on that same mortgage.
That's ABC's Rebecca Jarvis. Stocks are lower ahead of that key decision now. Right now on Wall Street, the Dow is down nearly 400 points. You're listening to ABC News.
Family and police have identified the victim of a Sunday shooting in downtown Youngstown as 32-year-old Yardell Green, who was involved in the court case of the suspects in the Rowan Sweeney case. 23-year-old Johnny Serrato has been arrested and charged with murder. The shooting happened near Federal and Hazel Street. Police responded this morning to a semi-rollover. It happened along the ramp from I-680 northbound to Salt Springs Road. Officials say the driver was not injured but cited by police for failure to control. 75-year-old Thomas Neff is in the Mahoney County Jail accused of assaulting a woman. Police say it's from an incident back on September 7th in the 13,000 block of West Akron Canfield Road when a woman told Neff he had to remove his stuff from her house. The woman says he hit her after an argument, then kicked her in the chest. A warrant has been issued for 24-year-old Nicholas Gable. He's wanted in connection to a crash on the Ohio Turnpike that killed a 29-year-old Washingtonville man. The crash happened back in August near North Lima in Beaver Township as 29-year-old Nicholas Seipert was repairing a tire on a tractor-trailer rig. Gable's wanted on a misdemeanor vehicular homicide charge. Mail has been stopped on a south side Youngstown street following a dog attack of a mail carrier. A USPS spokesperson says the attack has resulted in the suspension of delivery on Auburndale Avenue. They also say management has been working with the owner of the dog to resolve the issue, and delivery will resume when it's again safe. And a pair of roads on Youngstown's west side are closed while the Public Works Department completes a valve replacement project. Oakwood Avenue between North Evanston Avenue and Steel Street is closed, as well as Steel Street between Mahoning and Wellington Avenues. The city expects the work to take up to 2 to 3 weeks. From the Power Chevrolet Buick GMC of Calcutta, Ohio newsroom, I'm Dave Price.
And we have breaking news.
Keep up
Breaking news.
Breaking news with what happens next.
Issue executive orders.
Push through his agenda.
On 570 WKBN.
We're here with Mike Klaban of Klaban Ford Lincoln of Warren. So, Mike, is now a good time? And do you have inventory?
In these unusual times, there remains one constant. At Klaban, you'll find a team of professionals driven by your best interest. Choose any new Ford from stock, our inventory is growing daily, or order the one that's right for you. The deal is the same, and you'll never pay over sticker at Klaban.
Experience the difference at the Klaban Auto Stores. Visit Klaban.com.
From the Honda store in Boardman, home of zero down, zero due at signing, and zero payments for 30 days.
Looks like about half an hour for your drive on 422 in either direction between Warren and downtown Youngstown. No accidents, no broken down vehicles to slow you down. I'm Faith Nazovich in the Total Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by MGM Northfield Park, where winning happens.
It's game time. Visit MGM Thursdays and Fridays in September for the $200,000 Ultimate Tailgate Giveaway for a chance to win up to $1,000 free play, a tailgate party pack, or a brand new truck. Find your fun at MGM Northfield Park.
Weather brought to you by Bryant and Mazza Heating and Cooling, keeping you comfortable year-round.
It's going to be a beautiful day with a mostly to partly sunny sky. Temperatures will return to the upper 70s this afternoon. Clouds will be increasing late this evening into tonight with a few showers or thunderstorms possible overnight. Overnight temperatures will fall to the low 60s. With your Storm Team 27 forecast, I'm Alex George.
This report is sponsored by the Mark Moss Show podcast.
The European Union could be on the verge of breaking apart, but their new laws and policies are working against them and making things worse. I'm Mark Moss, helping you navigate the decentralized revolution. So listen to the Mark Moss Show on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers program. I'm Joe Danier sitting in for Dan today. Probably tomorrow, maybe the remainder of the week, we get to talk about things a little bit different. We're talking about some automations. And our last caller, Anthony, was in the middle of describing his experience with automations. And I wanted to draw some parallels. It should have clicked in most of your brains out there, but if it didn't, let me tell you. So Anthony was describing about how we were taking a manual transaction of a person going into the field and making something happen. And through the use of technology, we're basically saving those human steps and making those things a little bit more easier so that Anthony was more capable in the field. So the advent of the iPhone meant that you can integrate more communications and do things a little bit faster. And then he was going in and describing what he would do back at his hotel room, filing paperwork. Well, the parallel is that Anthony was the automation. The reason that we have human connections is because when we work together, certain people go do hard things on behalf of another person. And then that person, through that transaction, likes the fact that steps were saved and things were made easier. So they use an Anthony as a method of automation. And that's where the human connections come in. Now, technologies make things easier and faster, but the human element, the connection between Anthony being responsible for making your life better, so therefore Anthony gets elevated as a more valuable person in the world. You treat Anthony a little bit better because of what value he adds back to you. when it's replaced with technology, then you start complementing not a person, so you don't have the opportunity to make human beings more valuable to you. And that's, again, one of the downsides of automations is we use the human connection. So it's up to us to create that inauthentically. It's not going to happen on its own. We have to make it happen, and we have to still say there's a person behind this that cares about me and that they're willing to do hard things for me, and I've got to compliment them so they continually to do them. The rest of it, these autopilots that we're putting ourselves on, free our time up, so then we have free to then look at and do human things, right? So there was a video on Facebook yesterday from Derek McDowell, and what we're noticing, the city of Youngstown and the area that we live in has these bouts with negativity, right? There's things that happen that are terrible and we don't understand them, especially with some of our urban communities and the violence that happens there. There's shootings and stabbings and robberies. And when we read it on the news, we're a little bit outraged that we don't want this stuff to happening, but that the leadership, the people that can do something about it, I don't know that there is a way to, a policy that aside from more police protections and more police officers on the street, but how do you change the hearts and minds of the culture so that that's a less likely event to occur? So I was watching Derek McDowell. He's a great speaker, big advocate for the city, and that has caught his attention. Over on the stream, Raymond says, I was wondering if you were going to be covering local violence that occurred this weekend, which could impact people going downtown. Thanks, and keep up the good work. And again, if all of our citizenry know that's something that we don't want, right, and we want someone to be able to do something about it, what is the answer? Like, what is the if you were to put together a policy, if you get brilliant minds sitting around the table on how to quell violence, there's if it was a simple thing, it would already be being done. That sounds terrible, but you know what I mean? So more police, yes. More opportunity, yes. More coaching and people willing to go out in the community and advance ideals, yes. More religion, yes. Anything. Honestly, if you take your whole arsenal of things that help people find better ways of expressing themselves than using violence and robberies in order to adapt, the better. So 330-729-9977. Let's go to Ed. Ed, you're on the Dan Rivers program. How can I help you?
Good morning.
Hi.
First of all, technology is great. I probably had one of the first computers in Youngstown years ago. It was actually Mama's wife. But I have a problem when technology becomes stupid and it's easier to do it by paper. Perfect example is sending 9 million text messages instead of calling one phone call.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And honestly, there's a whole generation that will not make the phone call and insist that text messaging is the way they want to communicate.
And you know two of my fine, close relatives that do that. The other thing is the technology way back when cell phones became so available, okay, that you had people like your previous caller in the field getting 9 million phone calls from his manager because he doesn't know what to do because he's bored.
Mm.
And that happens. That still happens. I still have friends that work in the field, and they say, the guy's calling me to ask me if I made sure the bolt was tight on that piece of equipment. That's ridiculous. Okay, totally ridiculous. When you can do it easier and faster with technology, go for it. When paper makes it easier and faster, do the paper.
Yeah, you almost feel like because we have the technology, they're trying to force it in areas that obviously it's not the proper tool.
Yeah, that's the problem. That is not being taught, okay? And I used to teach some courses. That is not being taught. When it's this way to do it easier, do it this way. When your technology is easier, do it that way. Make your time most efficient. And technology, a lot of times, decreases that. I am a totally online check payer. But when I have to write a check, I can still write a check and get it done in time, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my one thing. On the subculture. It's destroying America. I'm a total advocate of that's what's happening. We have, since the 60s, gradually permitted the subculture to take over the main culture. You look at some of the stuff that's on there, it's ridiculous. And it makes the individuals who are in that group believe that it's perfectly okay. I saw a show last night that I thought was totally out of context, totally ridiculous. But I know down the road, did you happen to see this program last night on, I forget, I think it was on Fox, where they asked a person on the street of New York, in what country was the Panama Canal built? They had no idea. No idea. The other question they asked them is,
All right, Ed, I think I lost you. Go ahead. You dropped out for a minute.
Is that a breakdown of our society? Yes, because we at one point permitted the education system to lower its standards to meet the expectation.
So when you say subculture, what do you mean by that?
I'm talking about anybody like African American, West Virginia mountain people, anything with a culture that doesn't uphold family standards. 70%, 45%, and 30% of the population of the United States is unwed mothers. How can you have 70% unwed mothers who aren't married raising a family and not expect some deficiencies?
All right, Ed, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And that's what, in our culture, I mean, we're going to adapt upwards, which means that there are going to be subcultures that created in order to solve certain problems, right? So people deviate away from it. I consider myself a rebel, where I am a counterculturalist, where I like to experiment on things that I don't just like to go along with it for the sake of doing it. I like to have practical reasons for doing it. But what I do is, when I'm wrong about the direction that I went, where there's fallout or there's repercussions or it was just stupid to do it, then I'm correcting. I bring it back to the center line and I say, okay, that decision wasn't better. I didn't improve my situation, and I try something else. I think what was alluded to is the culture breakoff wasn't for enough practical reasons, and that if the derivative is that it didn't bring happiness, it didn't bring prosperity, if it didn't add good things, then let's drive more towards the center lane and get it back to whatever the cultural standard should be, and then go experimenting again once you've righted. But if bad things are happening as a result of your decisions, then you've got to make more boring and culturally acceptable things until you get yourself righted again, because it's just not worth the consequences that you're paying just to be different in those weird ways. So that's why I said, like, if religiosity is what brings people back to the center line so they can learn about reasons and having purposes for doing certain things, and then go off and deviate, fine. But whatever, obviously whatever this secularism is not working. It was a terrible experiment, and we're not doing a good job at inventing our way into having, these people's lives made better for it. So 330-729-9977. Let's go to Tim next. Tim, you're on the Dan Rivers program. How can I help you?
Hey, good morning. I think you're trying to tie technology into some kind of manual labor type conversation here or something, but we really don't have that problem over here in the United States much. For at least the last 50 years, the center lane that you talk about has been both political parties sending what I would call base family type jobs overseas. I mean, it all started way back in the 70s, and then it got the good and official there in 94, my senior year, when both parties got on board and said, yeah, we're gonna use third world labor to produce this stuff. And we've just seen it. We've seen it go and go and go and go, and so much has gone. I don't know that we can recover from it. And if you watch anything about the new Silk Road and pay any attention to China's ballooning cities and all the different stuff, all the different information that's out there on them, I mean, they're just handing us they're taking our lunches is what they're doing. And I really don't see any end in sight to this stuff. as long as you have third world labor and stuff, sure, China, they'll use the machines and stuff. But they got billions of people over there, and I mean, the future, it's just grim. You're talking about service related type jobs and stuff. I mean, it seemed like we were on the right path there for a few years, but now it's just 2 weeks ago, the president came on and insulted 75 million of us, and I do believe that he used the word "kill" in there and MAGA. What's wrong with making America great? I guess it's the slogan, but in reality, isn't making America great like maybe cutting down on all the inner city hate and crime and stuff? And a lot of that hate's just fed by your social media networks. That stuff just breeds on there. If you got a ton of friends and your life is great on social media, like Dan Rivers said the one time there, it's kind of like being rich in monopolies. It's really useless, isn't it?
Yeah. All right, Tim, thank you.
That's all I got. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it. And let me tell you, like the technology tie into this is, remember, like those foreign markets became available because of our technology. Technology opened it up that it would be cheaper and easier for us to get things from further away than closer. So in order to stop that, you have to basically market the ideals that say that the purchasers of these are going to prefer things made locally or in their own country than things that are not made in their own country. And if the marketing sells, then it fixes itself. But if the cheaper goods from other countries are more beneficial, then they buy those products, and technology enabled a replacement of local goods. So it's exactly what that tie-in, would be. We want to think about it as this: if we had a nation where a person can lay down the hammer and stop things from happening, versus someone who has the ability to guide what's already happening. So the demand would be, let's let cheaper goods happen. Cheaper goods don't happen if your goods haven't been run up. If there isn't a place where we can use, the cheaper labor and use that, right? Then the demand isn't even there. So again, I know you were struggling to find that tie-in with how technology connects those two things, but I'm saying 100%. Where if you can say that, let's just say we opened up a new ability, like we can go to space and we can harvest all the minerals that we need. We can do all of the hard ones. We can do gold. We can do diamonds. We can do lithium. We can do everything that's available on Earth. We go into space, grab a meteor that has plenty of that stuff, mine it, and bring it back down. You can see that that's a big enough change to alter what's happening down on this planet. And every new technology offers more of those consequences. So there's those sci-fi people are thinking like, what are all of the things that could happen if we start doing this? And then you start making those preparations where you've got like I said, you've got a good angle on that. Do I wish that somebody would have gave more benefit to goods created here locally? Sure. And if that was even a possibility, but it didn't happen. And I don't think it is possible at this point to slow that down. 330-729-9977. Carl and Paul will come back to your calls as soon as we get back to this break. You're listening to the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Well, this Tuesday morning, I was going to talk about football, but and use the football analogy. I am thinking about football. Football's so much fun. But we want you to score some new windows, and you pay nothing, no interest until 2025. And I want to take my time this morning and just tell you what you're going to get. First of all they do are windows, and they've installed 200,000 windows last year alone. That's 40 times more than the average window company. 96% of them require no follow-up service. They measure 3 times to ensure proper fit. Their installers have an average of 15 years experience. They've got 1 million windows installed. They've got 10,000 positive online reviews. What I'm trying to tell you, folks, this is a great company, and this is a company that you are going to be very happy with. WindowNation.com. Here's the basic offer. Get 2 free windows with every 2 you buy, and you pay no interest until 2025. In fact, you make no payment. 866-90Nation or WindowNation.com.
Hey, you've heard me talk about the fact that with interest rates going up now and likely a lot more in the future, Goldman Sachs even predicts 11 in 2 years, it will impact buyers' ability to buy a home. If you're thinking about selling your home, maybe you need to sell it now before more buyers get priced out of the market. Now more than ever, you need an experienced real estate agent that can bring you a smart strategy to generate multiple offers from the right buyers to net you the most money. I'm talking about Kelly Warren with Kelly Warren and Associates Real Estate Solutions. She services the entire Mahoning Valley, attracts hundreds of buyers every week. Now that helps you generate multiple offers and sell your home for the most money possible. Now, anyone can give you a home evaluation. Call the agent that creates the most demand, the only agent that I personally recommend. Call Kelly at 330-717-2689 or online at kellysoldit.com. That's kellysoldit.com.
People thought they could get away with it. Public officials breaking the public trust and laughing all the way to the bank.
This is Keith Faber. You can be sure they're not laughing now.
85 corrupt public officials convicted because of Faber's work. But that's not all. Then Faber helped uncover $5 billion in unemployment fraud. Did you hear the one about the guy who went to the state auditor's office to clean things up? It's Keith Faber.
And it's no joke. As your auditor of state, I hold these people accountable. It's serious business. I'm proud we helped convict 85 dishonest public officials. That's because government corruption is like inflation you never see. You pay more and get less.
Keith Faber, endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police. Vote Corruption Fighting Keith Faber for state auditor. Paid for by Friends of Faber.
Diabetes, vitamin deficiency, chemotherapy, it can all cause peripheral neuropathy, and the list is long. But if you have peripheral neuropathy, my message to you, there is hope. Through Light Therapy, Dr. Sean Ritchie and company have set up tri-state neuropathy centers in Poland and all over Western Pennsylvania. But the one you need is in Poland, 330-953-3339, 330-953-3339, or Tri-State Neuropathy Centers, marydansden.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/trial. That's ZipRecruiter.com/trial.
At EasyCater, food for work is our thing. Maybe that's why we get orders from 93% of Fortune 500 companies. So what's up with the other 7%?
Food is late again.
You should have ordered through EasyCater. Professionally delivered right on time.
EasyCater, huh? Have a pen?
No, I don't have a pen. Does anyone have a pen?
Nah, I'll remember.
Why don't all companies order through EasyCater? Who knows? Order 24/7 from over 95,000 restaurants on EasyCater.com. EasyCater, food for work. That's our thing.
All right, I got your Storm Team 27 forecast brought to you by Team Office. Today, we have a high of 79 degrees, no rain in the forecast. Wednesday, high of 86, chance of showers. And Thursday, also a chance of showers with a high of 65 degrees. And it is 70 degrees here in good old Youngstown, Ohio. Let's go right to the phones. We'll go to Carl next. Carl, you're on the Dan Rivers program. How can I help you?
Good morning. Hey, I have a background in IT, especially recovery planning. And technology is great, but what scares me is we walk away from the manual aspect of getting a job done, so we have no backup. For example, if let's say there was an electromagnetic pulse bomb that went off, the store shelves empty, they don't even know how to call a vendor or a provider and order food. It's all done through technology instantaneously.
Yeah, so instantly supply shortages would happen, and you'd have to go into your primitive camping and hunting for yourself to survive.
Exactly. But even making a phone call to someone like Cisco Foods, I don't think anybody would know how to do that.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's something probably would even more realistic, not necessarily an EMP going off, but what if we just had a big solar electromagnetic storm that knocked everything out for a period of time? I mean, it's super likely to happen again.
Yep. Don't forget the paper and pencil. It still works.
All right, Carl, thank you so much for checking in. Appreciate you being out there. And it's one thing, like that overcommitment to the technologies that are serving us well. There's got to be someone in the background that's that little cynic that has to sit there and say, what if scenarios? We need to be prepared. Even if it's unlikely, we got to know what it is we're going to do, and it has to be presented. You have so many marketers that want you to do the thing and ignore the repercussions. And so everybody's like buying into these political movements or advocacy movements, and they go along with it. And then after you buy the thing, right, there's not anybody to pick up the pieces for when it goes wrong. You ever have a politician that after you support their thing and there's some fallout, that they ever stick around and help you clean it up? I don't think it's part of their repertoire to stick around for the fallout portion. This person text, and by the way, Jeff Blackstone, I see you out there on the stream. So good morning to you as well. You can catch us on Facebook on the 570 WKBN page. This person says, Joe, as far as algorithms being used or weaponized against us, that is already happening. One example is social media, how everything is censored to their benefit. Yeah, and that's something like if you get all of your information from someone, and it's centralized from someone, somebody sits in the background saying, what if that someone one day takes a position on something and doesn't want you to know about it? Could they just take that information and keep it from you? And the answer is yes. So before you overcommit to something, you have to figure out how you want to deal with this. So it's like one of those questions for that person is, how are you going to keep yourself unbiased? How are you going to be objective when you're in total control of the information that gets sent to me? 330-729-9977. You're listening to the Dan Rivers program on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Money.
Don't leave cash on the curb. Christmas lights, aluminum, brass, copper, all getting top dollar at Southside.
Southside Recycling, Youngstown's drive-through recycling center, 98 East Florida.
Sam Simonero's Great Garage Doors.
Proudly serving the Youngstown Warren area for over 35 years. We carry over 400 steel doors in stock
in a variety of sizes and colors.
GreatGarageDoors.com. Don't settle for anything less than a great garage door.
At EasyCater, food for work is our thing. Maybe that's why we get orders from 93% of Fortune 500 companies. So what's up with the other 7%?
Food is late again.
You should have ordered through EasyCater. Professionally delivered right on time.
EasyCater, huh? Have a pen?
No, I don't have a pen. Does anyone have a pen?
Nah, I'll remember.
Why don't all companies order through EasyCater? Who knows? Order 24/7 from over 95,000 restaurants on EasyCater.com. EasyCater, food for work. That's our thing.
And we have breaking news.
It gets your attention.
Breaking news. Breaking news.
You lean in.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Listen up.
This breaking news.
Something has happened.
Breaking news.
And now it's happening even faster.
Let's break this down.
I can issue executive orders.
Push through his agenda.
This is going to be Obama 2.0.
New possibility.
Keep up.
It keeps changing every day.
With what happens next.
This is our historic moment.
On 570 WKBN.
A dire warning from the Secretary General of the United Nations.
Our world is in big trouble. Divides are growing deeper. Inequalities are growing wider. And challenges are spreading farther.
Antonio Guterres telling the opening of the UN General Assembly that the lingering effects of the pandemic, climate change, and the war in Ukraine are all creating a global crisis at the moment. Hurricane Fiona blasting the Turks and Caicos today after devastating Puerto Rico earlier this week, more than 1 million people without power. The Federal Reserve is meeting today to discuss whether to raise interest rates again. It's expected the Fed will hike rates another 0.75 percentage point at the end of the meeting tomorrow. Conspiracy theorist Alex Jones making his first appearance today at a trial in Connecticut that will determine how much in damages he should pay for telling his audience the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting was just a hoax. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
We're a country of so many voices, yet some still struggle to be heard. Let your voice be heard. News Radio 570, WKBN.
Weather brought to you by Bryant and Mazza Heating and Cooling, keeping you comfortable year-round.
It's going to be a beautiful day with a mostly to partly sunny sky. Temperatures will return to the upper 70s this afternoon. Clouds will be increasing late this evening into tonight with a few showers or thunderstorms possible overnight. Overnight temperatures will fall to the low 60s. With your Storm Team 27 forecast, I'm Alex George.
The can't-miss music event of the year is finally here.
Our 2022 iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Featuring once-in-a-lifetime performances from the biggest superstars.
Live from T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. This Friday and Saturday night, starting at 10 p.m.
Watch on the CW app and CWTV.com. And listen on iHeartRadio.
Capital One is the proud partner of the iHeartRadio Music Festival for the 6th year in a row, bringing great products, rewards, and services to its customers. What's in your wallet?
Feeling like a big fish in a small bowl? A Premier Bank home equity line of credit can help you add on to your tank or house to increase your livable space. With a great rate and the help of our always friendly advisors, a Premier Bank home equity line of credit can help you add a master bathroom, finish your basement, or even put in a lap pool. Hey, a fish has got to swim, right? Visit yourpremierbank.com/bestlife for details. Premier Bank, powered by people. Member FDIC equal housing lender. Offer subject to credit approval.
If there's one thing our country needs now, it's hope. The God Loves You Tour is bringing hope to Youngstown, featuring music from the Newsboys, Marcos Witt, and a message from Franklin Graham.
Remember this, God loves you.
The God Loves You Tour, coming to the Youngstown Foundation Amphitheater, Tuesday, September 27th. Details at godlovesyoutour.com. godlovesyoutour.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.com/free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Imagine for a moment that this ad was bought autonomously. Welcome to the new open web, where Viant is combining AI and human insight to create autonomous media buying that accelerates your return on ad spend. And using Viant's DSP Adelphic, you can now measure your media offline and online to see the full impact of your media spend, so you can spend more time on podcasts. Viant, built for the new open web. Built for now. Visit ViantNow.com to learn more.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers program. I am Joe Danier, sitting in for Dan today and possibly the remainder of the week. So sit back, and if you want to comment or participate in any of the conversations today, you can hit me up. 330-729-9977 is the phone lines. The preferred method seems to be text messaging. So if you want to text me here on the program, I will read those. 333-1570, and you can get opinionated and use all of that awesome humor that you've got at all any one of our hosts, and they receive those messages. Text message says people are having a harder time getting through the tragedies of life. Look how many people are depressed. It's like 4 out of 10 people are on antidepressants. Why? Because they have no other method to cope with the tragedies of their life. Also, people constantly confuse evil with tragedy. It's a huge problem. And I agree with that. I honestly think that, we, again, go back to the word adapt. I don't think that human beings have adapted enough for what we were dealt with when we were trapped in our houses and we communicated with other people less. And when our meetings were over a screen instead of a boardroom or a conference room. And so we disconnected with a lot of people. So a lot of people's enjoyment and peace comes from the connection with other people. And I think biologically that makes a lot of sense. And so you have to fill that in. So like our example with Anthony, where he started using technology to talk to customers, that probably took and replaced conversations that he had with those people. And think about how many subtle things you're able to do through a conversation that you can't do with a text message. Like, you can get the idea that I care about you with my voice inflections. You can't do that with my text messages. And so you miss a lot of the caring that happens because it's very hard. Like it's very, the density is more. You get more information, but you get less feeling out of it. So how are we filling in the gaps when we get a disconnection with the emotional side with other people, and we're just getting raw information? Well, you feel a little depressed, like and think about it, you couple that with the competition of seeing what other people are doing on social media. Your peers are all way ahead of you, and they're doing way more exciting things than you, and they're happier than you, and they have things that you don't. And so while we're disconnecting emotionally from other people, we're also at the same time making us feel really terrible about the lives that we're already living, when it should be reversed. You're the people you surround yourself with, they're there to make you feel better about what you've created in this world, the relationships and the homesteads and the families and whatever. I mean, try breaking away from technology for a week and just go hang out camping with people where you don't have the option to distract yourself with, technological devices. I'm a technology guy, and I'm saying this. You need to remind yourself about how to interact with human beings and do it well. Not just, I get all, I'm a very big introverted person. So a lot of my conversations with people are rehearsed, and they're in practice because I'm not good at it, right? And so I don't get a lot. So there's some conversations that I forced myself into, and I didn't get very much value out of. But think about the real, you're sitting around a campfire, and you're drawing on a cigar, and you're having a glass of wine or a beer, and you're talking with friends, and that level of yourself that's able to come out in front of other human beings, where you drop your guard and you don't try to present very well, and you just talk and dream and have a conversation. That's the good stuff that we're looking at as the electives that when we're busy and we have a lot of things going on. That's the stuff we cut out. And we replace it with just the hard, emotionless getting stuff done. And it leaves us a lot of us really empty. And so that text message that resonates with a lot of us out there. And I would really suggest, in our family, we cut technology out from weeks at a time. And I suggest maybe you play with that. How about you, Joey, our intern here? How do you deal with always being connected into technology?
I do pretty good to connect myself off of it. Since I'm an outdoors guy, a lot of the time when I hunt, and right now in 4 days is our opener of Ohio. So I'm always off technology when I'm out there. I go out west to hunt too. Out there, you're in the middle of a open plain field, and it's not best cell reception. And I'm with a group of guys that will be walking through the woods, and it's just connections. I barely use my phone when it comes to hunting season, unless I need to call somebody to just say, "Hey, I need help dragging something out," or something like that.
It is my favorite thing in the world to just peer out over the horizon or down the side of a mountain and look for like small movements and small sounds that are out there. Like if you had a device out there, you would miss everything. Hunting would not even be possible.
Yeah, I mean, I keep my phone for safety reasons, and that's like another reason why I got the Apple Watch. Yeah, I'm trying to deconnect myself from technology, but these newer Apple Watches are protecting hunters a lot more with the rate or the fall detection. If you fall out of a tree stand and your watch notices, it sends a signal to, I believe, the local fire station, and it gives the coordinates of where you fell. And it helps dispatch, especially there's, of course, been articles and stuff regarding people falling out of tree stands and unfortunately passing away from that. So that's another reason why. But I don't bring my phone. It goes in my backpack. I have my binoculars. That's the only piece of, I guess, technology, because it shows me the distance and everything. And I look at the horizon, look at the sunrise, look at the sunset, and it's the way I deconnect.
Yeah, there you go. And it's what we got to be really careful as human beings to do, is to take something like technology or take something like firearms and then try to vilify it, where we take an example where something was improperly used, and we make it so that we vilify the whole thing rather than just the action. If 90% of your technology is helpful and 10% is bad, then just put your effort into taking the 10% that you dislike. Where I had a text message conversation rather than a voice conversation, I know that was a bad choice on my end, and I just needed to decide things a little bit better. I'm not like, oh, I can't use this phone, let me smash it. Like that's just the worst iteration of that decision. Thank you for giving the text number. I've been trying. Thank you for giving it out. You're very welcome. And text messaging is a cool way to interact with the programming here, because a lot of times I might have a something I want to say, but I'm in the middle of doing a couple extra things, so I can hurry up and text the host and get my my comments in where I wouldn't have time to make the physical phone call. So I'm glad you got your text messages in, and I hope you save that number so that you can use it in the future. 330-729-9977. This little note here, this was kind of funny, and I almost mentioned it yesterday, but we had a lot of conversations going on. And hey, Carter over on Facebook, good morning to you as well. This border thing, where I think it was Texas, flew a bunch of illegals up to Martha's Vineyard to prove an amazing political point. I think, that more people should get to experience what it's really like on the communities that have a border-facing side, and I think more objective decision-making can happen. It's one of those political things where we're talking about people when it comes down to it, right? We're talking about the people that get caught up in this as the illegals. We get people that own property and live in those states that get caught up on it. So when we look at it, this can't really be sort of like a political weapon where we're just trying to be mean and score political points. We got to solve a problem that has human elements into it, and which means that we have to take a very delicate moral approach, because it's not just black and white where it's legal, illegal, or whatever. So I think we create these moments where we create outrage, right? And we create emotions and passions, but we never parlay those emotions and passions into solving any problems. We kind of just like get everybody riled up and mad, and then they want other people to do something about it. And when we haven't seen an instance of it where we stop being mad anymore, but nothing ever gets made better, we just get more and more mad at one another. But I want to see one of these checkmate, emotionalized deal get into something that makes things better. So for instance, as much energy as the abortion issue created, I saw that West Virginia started solving some of the problems where they made exceptions for women who have been raped or instances of incest. So that's always the what about portion of the deal. Well, West Virginia solved it by putting it into the state law, where they carved out exceptions for a very specific instance where that abortion should be a proper tool of. And I like to see more of that happen, especially the Martha. If you didn't hear the Martha's Vineyard thing, a bunch of these illegals got bussed up to Martha's Vineyard, which is a prestigious, high dollar amount, high net worth part of town. And they dropped off a bunch of maybe 50, 100 illegals in there and said, hey, this is what we deal with every day. So they used sort of like human beings to prove a political point. Very unfair probably to the illegals that just got bussed up for, I don't know how long a bus trip takes up to Martha's Vineyard, but they were little pawns that got created in this move. Well received. I mean, you made your point, because Martha's Vineyard didn't, set up a tent community for them and include them in the, the bake sale that day. But it's worth noting that, okay, got it. It's a whole national problem. It's not an Arizona, Texas problem. It's a national problem. And how should human beings take care of other human beings? 330-729-9977. Let's go to JT. JT, you're on the Dan Rivers program. How can I help you?
Hey, Joe, I don't know if you remember me. I spent a night in your podcast with Freddie, Fast Freddie, about a month ago.
Okay. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good.
What was I going to say? Okay. You were giving a rebuttal to somebody about 10, 20 minutes ago. And you made reference to the young people in our community or the young people in America, a segment that they don't care if they live or die. Do you recall saying that?
I do.
Okay. I think they say that, but I think that's a delusion. Okay. And I'll use logic to show you that. You may or may not know I was a Youngstown policeman years ago, and got to know a high school kid on my beat. And he had football talent. So I was following him. And then maybe a year or two later, I saw him, and he gave up the football because he fell into a street gang. So I was disappointed. I thought this kid could go to college and make something, and here he's on the street corner. And when I asked him why, he had already been, his head was turned. He said, "Well, I want to juke and jive with the hose," that type of thing. So now we'll go forward another year, because you see these kids for years on your beat, your territory. And he gets involved in a shooting. Okay. And he dies in my arms. Okay. And I'm holding this kid, and it went from being one of the Bloods, the Crips, juke and jiving with the hose. And when I'm holding him, all I hear is, "Oh God, oh Jesus." Okay. I mean, he went back to his childhood. Okay. And it's like the Jesuits, for those of us who are Catholic, they say, you give me somebody till they're 12 years old, and they may wander, but they'll circle back. They'll come back. You just give me them for 12 years, and, we'll put their mind in such a way, and then they'll come back to their religion. So when these kids say today, we're going to live fast and die hard and all that, well, they say it, but it's really a delusion. Because when you come down to the foxhole scenario, or you're dying, or like if you told them, okay, we want to choose the way you die. Okay, you're going to die by cancer in a 6-month period. Somewhere in that 6 months, they will change their mind. They don't want to die of cancer. So that's just a little something I wanted to share with you, buddy.
Well, when they're making their decisions, though, they're not predicating their decisions based on that they can go to jail or they could die. So there is a delusion between what they think the repercussions of doing that, like they can get away with it and not have to die and not have to go to jail.
Yeah, I agree. But you ask any of the guys in the Ohio State Penitentiary right now, and they're all going to say, "Well, I made some bad decisions and I wish I hadn't."
Wow. And so did you see, like, when people when these kids are playing that role, do you think they know they're playing a role, and inside they've got, some conscience there that's trying to talk them out of it? Or do you think the conscience is dead?
Well, it depends on how long they've been converted. You know what I mean? I mean, like in the beginning, it's a slow process. They're playing. This kid was a star football player at East. And I said, "Wow, man, he's going to get a scholarship, go to college." Someone converted him. All he could think about was joining a gang and, sex and violence. And probably when I saw him when he was, with the gang, in his mind, he was fully converted. But boy, when I was holding him and because I got the call where he was shot and he's laying there, and man, everything of the conversion went right back to when he was in Sunday school. Because it was, "Oh God, no Jesus."
All right, JT, thank you for
that old thing about there's no atheist in a foxhole.
Yeah, right.
And you guys were talking earlier about the kid with you was talking about when he goes hunting out on the plains of, let's say, Colorado. Well, with me, I use the ocean. You sit at the beach and stare out, or maybe I go deep sea fishing. I charter a boat. You cannot be on God's ocean and sit there and then feel like there's no God. You know what I mean?
That's right. All right, JT, thank you so much. Appreciate it. 330-729-9977. We come back. Emmanuel, you can also text me at 333-1570. You're listening to The Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Happy Tuesday, friends. Hey, Dan Rivers for Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Just thinking, maybe you're thinking about installing a new hardwood floor and wondering which species to choose. There's a lot of them. So anyway, visual appearance is not the only factor to consider when choosing a species for the flooring. That's why you've got me. You can take a look at the Jonka Hardness Scale, and you can learn more. And if you'd like to learn more, you simply go to Baird Brothers and then look under What's New. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, 7060 Croy Road, Canfield. And by the way, they ship all over the United States. They deliver locally. They're just a fine organization. Steve Stack has this little thing called Studio 3B. You are going to learn more about how to do things than you can ever imagine. And Baird Brothers, they have the product. It is fantastic. They've held the line on the prices. Baird Brothers, 7060 Croy Road, Canfield, BairdBrothers.com. Check them out, will you?
Pat Moran here with Window World. You know, the guys who not only stand behind our windows, we stand on them. Our double pane, double strength glass is how we stand on them, but our buy once for life guarantee is how we stand behind them. When you choose a premium window package from Window World, it will be the last time you'll need new windows because you're covered for life. That's our buy once for life guarantee. For a free in-home estimate on windows, doors, or siding, call us at 1-800-NEXT-WINDOW. Visit one of our many showrooms or go to windowworld.com.
Hey, what sounds better after a tough day on the job? Running errands? Working hard? Nothing. Fast-acting support is what you need. And that's what you get from Sapphire Essentials. A local CBD company will help support you and your body and heal naturally. Their CBD balm and CBD cooling gel really works. Stop in, see Dr. Jim Collins, and get expert advice on CBD. I've known Jim a long time. I love Sapphire Essentials, and you will too. 1975 East Western Reserve Road, Poland.
Research shows listeners prefer a personalized experience. So to help you remember, Liberty Mutual customizes your home insurance. We personalized this ad for Amber, who really misses boy bands from the 90s.
Hey girl, I'm the cute one, here to tell you how Liberty Mutual customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
I'm the heartthrob. The only thing I love more than you is saving. And I'm the other boy in the band everyone forgot about.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Hey, here's my buddy Sue from CKC. Hi, Sue.
Hi, Dan. How are you?
My goodness, we're looking at fall, and Leaf-X gutter protection system is going to be more important than ever because the rains will be coming, won't they?
Yes, and now is the time because fall is really right around the corner, and we can come out to your home and do a quick, easy, painless, free estimate and get you put on the schedule and get you done.
I love it. I love it. CKC Leaf-X gutter protection system is what I have on my home, and it works flawlessly. It's a little cap that goes right on top of your existing gutters. More water will go into the gutter than even if they weren't on there. So it is a great system. And Sue, we have a lot of colors, and we have a fantastic system, and it's affordable. That's what we want to tell people.
Yes, and also if you need new gutters, we do the regular size of gutters, and we also do the larger gutters. So if you need everything, we can help with all of it.
Your phone number and information, Sue.
The phone is 330-759-5200, and the website is ckccleaning.com.
Every search you make, every click you take, they'll be watching you.
Tired of companies like Google and Facebook watching everything you do online? There's actually a simple solution. DuckDuckGo. It's an all-in-one privacy app with a built-in private search engine, web browser, one-click data clearing, email protection, and more, all for free. Download the app today and get the most comprehensive privacy protection with the push of a button. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
Tired of the news about how everything is costing more?
Everything is stubbornly high.
Us too. That's why we made the iHeartRadio app absolutely free. When you download the free iHeartRadio app, you have radio stations you love at your fingertips whenever you want, wherever you want, along with millions of podcasts from the news you crave to the true crime series you can't resist, playlists to fit any mood or activity. And here's the part you don't want to miss. It's all free. Download the free iHeartRadio app and discover music, radio, and podcasts you'll love.
iHeartRadio.
All right, I got your Storm Team 27 forecast brought to you by Team Office. Today, we've got partly cloudy skies. 79 is your high. Wednesday, we got a high of 86 degrees. Chance of shundreth showers and thunderstorms. 70% chance of rain. And then Thursday, we got a chance of rain. A high of 65 degrees. I did, yeah, 72 degrees here right now, currently in Youngstown. Let's go to Emmanuel. Emmanuel, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Well, first of all, I want to talk about the rally. But first of all, before that, this last conversation you had was horrible. For the simple reason is that young man had a mother. And if she was listening or somebody that knows her were listening, you might as well just dug that young man up and shot him again. That was horrible. So now I want to talk to you about this rally. Sure. It was not a Trump rally. It was a QAnon rally. I heard people call the radio station and say, why were they pointing their fingers up in the air? Right? We love that, but we don't know why. They were pointing up in the air to the one who is a shaman, not God, not Jesus, You know what I mean? It's about the QAnon. They were playing QAnon music. That was not a Trump rally. And if you believe in putting your finger up in the air to the sky like that, then that's telling me that you don't believe in God. And the second thing, the worst thing we ever could have had, made Youngstown look terrible. Yes, I'm losing my voice. I was at a football game. This made Youngstown look terrible, right? We got a guy that wants to be a senator, a United States senator for 6 years, letting someone stand there and say, hey, this guy didn't like me. Now all he can do is kiss my ass. He's been kissing my ass all day. Now, what kind of man is that? I don't know any Ohio man. I know some cowards that will let somebody get away with that. But a grown man will let somebody talk to you like that in front of 4,000 people, and you want to be a senator? J.D. Vance is not the man. You can say what you want to say about Tim Ryan, but he is a fighter. He may fight on different teams at different times, but that's democracy. Democracy is we all don't get along. We all argue, but then we sit down and we vote. Someone wins and someone loses. And they don't understand that.
All right, Emmanuel, thank you for checking in. Appreciate it. We're going to take this break. We'll come back, take some more of your phone calls, 330-729-9977. Or you can text me at 333-1570. You're listening to the Dan Rivers program on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Just hike interest rates again, the biggest hike in decades since 1994, as a matter of fact. Hey, Sean Hannity here. If you're trying to buy a home now more than ever, it is imperative that you find a real estate agent who knows the market better than anyone and has the skills to win you the negotiation and save you the most money. There's only one agent in town I recommend. I'm talking about Kelly Warren with Kelly Warren and Associates Real Estate Solutions. She services the entire Mahoning Valley, attracts hundreds of buyers every week. Now that helps you generate multiple offers and sell your home for the most money possible. Now you risk nothing, since at any point if you're not happy, well, you can get out of the contract free and clear and pay nothing. But trust me, that's not going to happen. Now, anyone can give you a home evaluation. Call the agent that creates the most demand, the only agent that I personally recommend. Call Kelly at 330-717-2689. That's 330-717-2689 or online at kellysoldit.com. That's kellysoldit.com.
From the Columbiana Cadillac Buick Chevrolet Studios, available everywhere with the iHeartRadio app. Now, number one for podcasting, 570 WKBN, Youngstown.
From ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. The Secretary General of the UN, Antonio Guterres, opening up the General Assembly today with a dire warning for political leaders. In his words, the world is in big trouble.
We are in rough seas. A winter of global discontent is on the horizon. A cost of living crisis is raging. Trust is crumbling. Inequalities are exploding. And our planet is burning.
He says the divides between countries are growing deeper. At the same time, more work is needed to solve numerous worldwide crises. The sheriff of Bexar County, Texas, and San Antonio has launched an investigation into Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' move to fly 50 migrants to Martha's Vineyard last week. This is Sheriff Javier Salazar.
They had a right to not be preyed upon and played for a fool and transported halfway across the country just for the sake of a media event, of a video opportunity.
Others in the state, though, say the move shines a spotlight on what officials along the border have been dealing with for years.
At the southern border, a record number of crossings, apprehensions topping 2 million for the first time ever. That's a 175% increase from last August. Across the country, cities are overwhelmed by the influx. El Paso opening up an emergency processing facility. The mayor of New York considering cruise ships as temporary housing.
ABC's Rachel Scott. Hurricane Fiona battering Turks and Caicos after punishing Puerto Rico. ABC's Victor Oquendo is in Salinas.
All the rain that accumulated on Puerto Rico's mountains that had to go somewhere. It came sliding down. It caused a lot of damage. There's debris on the roads. It's not impassable like it was after Maria, but it's still a problem.
Also a problem, power outages, more than 1 million of them across Puerto Rico. The Federal Reserve is beginning its 2-day meeting today. At its conclusion tomorrow, it's expected to raise interest rates another 0.75% in an attempt to slow persistent rising inflation. You're listening to ABC News.
Family and police have identified the victim of a Sunday shooting in downtown Youngstown as 32-year-old Yardell Green, who was involved in the court case of the suspects in the Rowan Sweeney case. 23-year-old Johnny Serrato has been arrested and charged with murder. The shooting happened near Federal and Hazel Street. Police responded this morning to a semi-rollover. It happened along the ramp from I-680 northbound to Salt Springs Road. Officials say the driver was not injured but cited by police for failure to control. 75-year-old Thomas Neff is in the Mahoney County Jail accused of assaulting a woman. Police say it's from an incident back on September 7th in the 13,000 block of West Akron Canfield Road when a woman told Neff he had to remove his stuff from her house. The woman says he hit her after an argument, then kicked her in the chest. A warrant has been issued for 24-year-old Nicholas Gable. He's wanted in connection to a crash on the Ohio Turnpike that killed a 29-year-old Washingtonville man. The crash happened back in August near North Lima in Beaver Township as 29-year-old Nicholas Seifert was repairing a tire on a tractor-trailer rig. Gable's wanted on a misdemeanor vehicular homicide charge. Mail has been stopped on a South Side Youngstown street following a dog attack of a mail carrier. A USPS spokesperson says the attack has resulted in the suspension of delivery on Auburndale Avenue. They also say management has been working with the owner of the dog to resolve the issue, and delivery will resume when it's again safe. And a pair of roads on Youngstown's west side are closed while the Public Works Department completes a valve replacement project. Oakwood Avenue between North Evanston Avenue and Steel Street is closed, as well as Steel Street between Mahoning and Wellington Avenues. The city expects the work to take up to 2 to 3 weeks. From the Columbiana Cadillac Buick Chevrolet Newsroom, drivecolumbiana.com, I'm Dave Price.
And we have breaking news.
Keep up.
Breaking news.
Breaking news with what happens next.
Issue executive orders.
Push through his agenda.
On 570 WKBN.
From the Honda store in Boardman, home of zero down, zero do-it signing, and zero payments for 30 days.
The center and right lanes are closed on the Pennsylvania Turnpike eastbound due to road construction between Ohio Gateway and Exit 10, and Beard Road is closed for construction between Garfield Road and Columbiana Road. I'm John Crawford in the Total Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by MGM Northfield Park, where winning happens.
It's game time. Visit MGM Thursdays and Fridays in September for the $200,000 Ultimate Tailgate Giveaway for a chance to win up to $1,000 free play, a tailgate party pack, or a brand new truck. Find your fun at MGM Northfield Park.
Weather brought to you by Bryant and Mazza Heating and Cooling, keeping you comfortable year-round.
It's going to be a beautiful day with a mostly to partly sunny sky. Temperatures will return to the upper 70s this afternoon. Clouds will be increasing late this evening into tonight with a few showers or thunderstorms possible overnight. Overnight temperatures will fall to the low 60s. With your Storm Team 27 forecast, I'm Alex George.
This report is sponsored by the Ben Ferguson Podcast.
Coming up on the Ben Ferguson Podcast, Gavin Newsom is now begging the DOJ to investigate Governor DeSantis for kidnapping after he sends migrants to Martha's Vineyard. I'll explain the politics of all this. Download the Ben Ferguson Podcast now.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers program. I am Joe Danier, sitting in for Dan for the next couple days. So if you want to get any comments in or talk about any of the topics that we had out there today, 330-729-9977. You can text me at 330-333-1570. This texter says it's a petty political stunt, and we're talking about the Martha's Vineyard busing a bunch of illegals up there. Jurors don't need to be punched in the face to be empathetic to the context of the damage done by the punch in the face. Third grade stuff. Honestly, the political stunts, it's nothing but political stunts. Like for as many years as I can remember, this jostling is all very fourth grade kind of stuff. There hasn't been sort of like an academic approach where we just talk through things and bring out objective facts and come to good conclusions. It's a bunch of posturing and bloviating and I don't know. It's just very, very stuff that I am not attracted to because there's no, product at the end of the day. You're not actually solving problems. You're just making things considerably worse every time you try. So yes, it's a petty political stunt, but so is everything else. All right. Let's see. Reproductive rights. That's from a text messenger. Wow, what an amazing man Emmanuel must be. He reads the minds of all the people holding their fingers. And I guess we said yesterday that the whole Nazi single finger up. I mean, if we can't make up our minds like what it's attributed to, then we're kind of reaching and trying to vilify what was going on there. I was watching on one of the iHeart channels here. I was watching some concert footage. And you know what everybody in the audience was doing? They were pointing one finger as they were swaying their arm to the beat, right? Showing their support for the people that were on stage. So I was like, okay, well, if I were a detractor and I hated that band, I might say that they were doing the same thing. So that's why I say it's a reach, like getting in the minds of other people. Now, this QAnon thing, I don't know much about it. Okay. From what I knew about it early on, it was this conspiracy theory where everybody in high places had this pedophilia ring and they were just awful people. And I don't know how we got from these people who are going after this high ring of pedophilia to supporters that are there. I don't know if it's, I can't, I'm not making the good connection there. So I'm not sure how that works in. If you know more about QAnon and why it would be paying homage to that, I don't know. I mean, if there's a pedophilia ring, then somebody needs to strap on some some kind of offense here and get rid of people in elitist positions. What doesn't help is the whole Epstein thing and how those people who did that sort of stuff, we still don't know much about. As long as that exists, then if there is a QAnon movement, that's feeding it. And I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Pete. Pete, you're on the Dan Rivers program. How can I help you?
Well, that pedophilia thing all started out with Trump there when he started screaming about how the Democrats had a little old pizza parlor out there they were being pedophile with. But why do we sit up there for that skunk and jackass show while he lied about he filled up the oil reserves when he never did? Matter of fact, when it comes right down to it, he took out 57 million barrels of oil out of our strategic air oil supply. And yet people stand right there and say, what? Hey, right on. He did that. He didn't do that.
Now, what do you? I've heard about this strategic oil supply, and I always had it, this protected surplus or cache of oil in case of a crisis. It could be used to fill in and keep the economy rolling to make sure that somebody didn't hold oil power over top of us. For the executive to be able to use this as sort of like a price controls tool, do you think that's a right thing to do?
Yes, I do. And that matter of fact, that is why Trump, in his 4 years that he was in there, was trickling some out there all the time to keep the oil prices, the fuel prices here in the United States down, so that he could say that he made us energy efficient, which he never did. Because that sort of stuff, if you started with the president, it's going to take 4 or 5 years before it finally really shows its effect. And this guy here just wants to continuously lie and then whine about the press hates me. Well, put your big boy pants on and start walking around, because there hasn't been a president out there in the United States that didn't get some sort of bad remarks from the press.
All right. Thank you, Pete. Appreciate it. And, again, I'm not a big fan of politics in general, but I think they all lie. I think they all are conniving. And I think they all, it's really tough for me to not take some kind of criticism from one side and squarely aim it at the other side as well. I think they're all terrible. More power we give them, the more they can be terrible in more important places. So the libertarian screams to just keep taking power away from these idiots because they act like children. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Nancy next. Nancy, you're on the Dan Rivers program. How can I help you?
Hi, Joe. Yeah. I'm a 73-year-old grandmother. I do believe that the election was stolen from we Trump supporters. I believe that in my heart. Let me tell you, I drove down to that Trump rally by myself and waited in line 2.5 hours in the sun because I wanted to see him so bad. Could you please tell Emmanuel that if he got his news from sources other than MSNBC, CNN, he would get the whole picture. Trump does exaggerate. He does not lie. He does not lie. He exaggerates. But I'll tell you, the Vindicator got it right. There were probably 5,500 people there from what I saw, given how many that place can hold. But I saw that story. It was online. I saw it. It came from MSNBC. And they made all this up. And the QAnon, I have no idea about QAnon. That is some kind of group. I went to a meeting once of a group that I thought I would fit in with, but they were wackos. There were too many things coming out of that group that I thought, please don't pass on the story. That is absolutely ridiculous. So I didn't go back. But as I said, in my heart, I know that the election was stolen.
All right, Nancy, let's talk about that for a second, because we had a conversation yesterday about that. And in every election, there's probably a good bit of corruption and fraud.
Sure.
Do you think that if somebody had their, they were, dedicated to swaying an election and stealing an election, do you think that they can make a big enough effect to do that to a national election? You're convinced. So tell me why you think that it was able to be well orchestrated.
Supposedly because of COVID, 5 or 6 states changed their voting rules. What happened to one vote for one person? And this is election day. If you request a mail-in, I love the way Ohio does it. Request a mail-in ballot, we'll send it to you. That way we know it's you and you requested it. But look at all these states, what they have done. They've changed the election laws. If you have not yet seen the movie 2,000 Mules, please do so. Please. There is no doubt in my mind. That just confirms what I felt.
Okay, Nancy, thank you so much. I appreciate you checking in, and thank you for your feedback on the Trump rally from this weekend. And as a problem solver, if somebody makes the charge that an election was stolen, and I don't like absolutes, right? I like the suggestion that if there is the could be scenario, then let's look into it. And I don't think anybody would begrudge anybody from making sure that the elections were more solid and put up more preventative mechanisms to keep it safer, so that, because we got to have faith in that these are solid. And it's not a faith as in spite of what we see, we think it's solid. It's here's the parts that what we're doing to ensure that it is solid, and then we can have faith to it. Thankfully, I think we're decentralized enough that it would be really hard to pull off a whole election, compromise, right? Could you in states like Pennsylvania, where they might have taken areas and compromised little areas? Sure. But I don't think that there can be enough, conspiracy. There can't be a group big enough to pull off the whole thing. And that's what yesterday we were talking about that. And I still have thankful it's hard enough to do at this point. And I even see some of those who don't want us to do, digital voting or whatever, because it might expose us to a little bit more of that fraud. I think the complication in the paper and making it hard means that if you want, 10,000 ballots, 10,000 ballots are noticeable in a box that you have to do something with. Millions of votes in a digital database are easier to sling around. And I think that, I'm not as far down the path as Nancy, who thinks that it absolutely was compromised, but I think it's worth looking at. And anyone who runs with the intention of cleaning it up, clearing it up, and making it so that I can have more faith in it, got my vote. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Keith next. Keith, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Hi. I like the show and I like the topic. One of the things that people aren't really talking about is with the mail-ins and the drop boxes, which my county just got rid of the drop boxes and the Democrats went crazy, is the fact that you can't get caught. If you drop off 50 fraudulent ballots, they have no idea who dropped those off, even if they catch them that they're fraudulent. And the same with mail-ins. You have no idea who put that in the mail. So when there's no incentive and no consequences, there's going to be a huge incentive to try and cheat. Also, I think that a lot of the judges that heard some of these cases, obviously you only had a month and a half after the election to make the case. A lot of them were just intimidated by all the riots in 2020. And even John Roberts was overheard saying that he was intimidated and he didn't want the protesters coming to his house. So the easy route then is to say, well, there's just not enough evidence here. We're not going to proceed. So that's a huge issue. But to me, the mail-ins, the drop boxes, all have to go back to the absentee, go back to paper ballots. Then we don't have these issues. But again, there's no incentive not to cheat when there's no consequences, and you can never find out who actually dropped those the ballots off in the box or who actually mailed them in. There's no way to tell.
All right, Keith, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I think, honestly, like with every election gets reported the percentage of people that went and cast their vote. And when you see how many people aren't voting, those unmailed or balloted votes are more valuable than I would constitute fraudulent. Like, people aren't making up names and then voting on people who don't have the right to vote. It's taking people who are not already expressing their vote and then culturing a certain number of them into the ballot box. And that's where, like, okay, well, if I were to take a bunch of Democrat ballots or Republican ballots and try to harvest them out and then legally get them to post, that's considered like those people. If I went and asked everybody whether or not, like, okay, if somebody would not have voted in an election and I convinced you to vote a certain way and took your ballot, would that be a fraudulent vote? Because that would have been an influenced vote versus one that would have 100% would have been on the sidelines had it not been for me. I consider that fraud. If you can't maneuver and just say public go vote, and then they are brought to the motivation to vote on their own without you having to like grab their vote and take them to the thing and mark their things for them and put it in the box. I mean, that is really manipulative. And I would put that in the definitely squarely in a fraud situation. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Richard. Richard, you're on the Dan Rivers program. How can I help you?
Yeah, a couple different comments.
Sure.
They're talking about the ballots. Now, last year, we have voted forever. We drive down and vote. My neighborhood got 5 ballots apiece sent out to us, and we didn't even ask for them. And then my other thing is, I heard when you go to vote, the voting machines were from another country. Why would something so important and why wouldn't we have bought them in our own country and had them? And if they're going to check anything out done to the computers, if they didn't do it in the first week, then the ballot things was taken out. You're never going to find the evidence. Then I got another comment. Go ahead.
No, and that's fair. You want to make sure that it is auditable. Like if the vote is opened in the mailing system and it's detached from the ballot to be counted, it becomes hard to be auditable as if it were a legitimate vote. As long as it's auditable, that's the premise. So go ahead.
Well, they talk about the rhythms or whatever in computers now. So if those voting machines did have something like that and they could change it, whoever going to come to, they're going to take them out after a week so they can't get caught. And my other comment this morning, they were talking about the immigrants. That lady says $20 billion to take care of the immigrants each year and everything. So my question is, why won't the government listen to us? We are broke. Now, $31 trillion in debt. The Constitution does not say anything but to pay the government bills. So why don't how do we get away with this?
All right, Richard, thank you so much for being out there. And I guess the premise is that if you're going to have something that we have faith in voting wise, you've got to be able to go forward, audit it to make sure that every vote corresponds with a voter that had intention of voting what's on that piece of paper. If you can't audit it, then there's always going to be speculation whether or not it was legitimate or not. And we need to have legitimate elections. 330-729-9977. I'm going to read all your text messages when we get back from this next break. You can also text me 330-333-1570. You're listening to the Dan Rivers program on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Well, here we are Tuesday already, and as the week slips by, don't let another week slip by without calling Kelly Warren and Associates, if that fits. If you're buying or selling, I'm really talking to you. For example, I always like to give some examples. Adrienne and Tim, they had sold their home, and they used Kelly Warren and Associates for their realtor of choice. So they were looking to sell another home so they could move closer to their family. And they didn't have a lot of experience, but when it came to selling homes, Kelly brought the buyers and sellers together. Kelly's team walked Adrienne and Tim through the entire process, and they were able to get the home sold quickly in only a few days. This does not have to be a big project. If you've got a home to sell, Kelly's going to price it right. She's going to do the due diligence that's needed, and you're going to get it sold. Call the real estate agent that I would call on this very Tuesday morning, Kelly Warren and Associates. Kelly and Jim, great couple. They will get it done for you. I guarantee.
Go to kellysold.com.
Imagine for a moment that this ad was bought autonomously. Welcome to the new open web, where Viant is combining AI and human insight to create autonomous media buying that accelerates your return on ad spend. And using Viant's DSP Adelphic, you can now measure your media offline and online to see the full impact of your media spend, so you can spend more time on podcasts. Viant, built for the new open web. Built for now. Visit ViantNow.com to learn more.
Anyone can order you a new Ford truck or SUV, but for the entire year of 2021, Fairway Ford in Canfield sold more new Fords than any other dealer within the sound of my voice. With that sales record, we have earned huge allocations. That means we can order you and get your new Ford faster. Even with all the inventory shortages, Fairway Ford in Canfield continues to be the Ford sales leader. So call us at 330-5334 or fairwayfordohio.com. Fairway, that's the way we do business.
Shopping replacement windows? Then check out Pella's 250 vinyl series, 52% stronger than ordinary vinyl windows.
The Pella windows they scream quality. You look at them, they're beautiful.
Customer Laura Dim knows Pella windows are made to last, built to withstand Ohio's ever-changing weather, resistant to warping and fading. Get Pella now and pay no interest for 48 months or take 40% off installation. 877-98-PELLA, PellaYoungstown.com.
As the only Ohio House candidate who is former law enforcement, I've witnessed firsthand how important protecting our jobs, education, and Constitution is. For the last decade, I've been on the front lines helping hardworking Ohioans keep their businesses, develop our workforce, and support the best environment for our children to learn in. That's why I've been endorsed by both teachers and workers alike. On day one, I'll be ready to represent you. I'm Vince Peterson. On November 8th, I'd be honored to have your vote.
Paid for by friends of Vince Peterson.
Well, this Tuesday morning, I was going to talk about football, but and use the football analogy. I am thinking about football. Football's so much fun. But we want you to score some new windows, and you pay nothing, no interest until 2025. But I want to take my time this morning and just tell you what you're going to get. First of all they do are windows, and they've installed 200,000 windows last year alone. That's 40 times more than the average window company. 96% of them require no follow-up service. They measure 3 times to ensure proper fit. Their installers have an average of 15 years experience. They've got 1 million windows installed. They've got 10,000 positive online reviews. What I'm trying to tell you, folks, this is a great company. And this is a company that you are going to be very happy with. WindowNation.com. Here's the basic offer. Get 2 free windows with every 2 you buy, and you pay no interest until 2025. In fact, you make no payment. 866-90Nation or WindowNation.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/trial. That's ZipRecruiter.com/trial.
All right, I got your Storm Team 27 forecast brought to you by Team Office. Today we got a high of 79 degrees, 0% chance of rain, partly cloudy. Wednesday we got a chance of showers with a 70% chance of rain. And then Thursday, high of 65 with a 60% chance of rain. And it is 74 degrees here in good old Youngstown, Ohio. Jeff on Facebook says, well said, Joe, all politicians lie. That's what I alluded to. Like we have these instances where we see something we don't like somebody tells a lie in politics. And rather than saying, you know what, I'm done with this whole lying. Anybody who lies, I'm against them. That we selectively get outraged, and his lies are the ones that are making us mad. But everybody else will kind of tolerate their lies because maybe their lies are a little bit more likable. So that's what I really can't stand it, where, you know, we have to be more principled, where it has to be reflective. And once we know we don't like something, we don't like it everywhere, no matter if it's our team that's doing it. So 330-729-9977. Text messenger says, I can't believe you wouldn't even hang up on the guy that said Trump trickled our oil reserves. No, he did not. We were energy independent. Americans are stupid and lazy. Not a big fan of Americans, I assume here. I really don't hang up on anybody. I give everybody a chance to say whatever it is that's on their mind. Sometimes I'll chime in. Sometimes I won't. Sometimes we're up against a break, but I really don't. I really don't do that. If you're maintaining the language that's appropriate for terrestrial radio and that you've got a point, get it out. I mean, honestly, the message might not be for me, but other people might need to hear what you have to say, and that's why 570, the talk radio, is the sounding board for what is America. You get to say what's on your mind, unthrottled. You don't have a keeper over top of you that's saying that we have to qualify what it is that you're going to say. Really, the only strict rules that we have are language rules. That if you can conduct yourself appropriately, you can say whatever's on your mind and get it out to the rest of the world. I don't have to agree with you in order for me to let you say what it is that you're going to say. All of us has to get better at hearing stuff we disagree with without wanting to shudder them and shut them off. That cancel culture thing is a toxic cancer in our world. Get better at hearing things you don't like, right? You can get angry and right back at them, but to shut people up because you don't like what they have to say is something that I won't tolerate on this program or in any of my other endeavors. You guys are, we need what's in your head worse than we need to feel good about what you say. So this person says fraud bad. Yes, absolutely. All fraud bad, like money fraud, voting fraud, culture fraud, all fraud. Anything that is corrupt and fraud needs to go away. And we don't ever really get rid of fraud, but we make a tolerance towards certain frauds that may be benefiting us. How about let's just make it all legit? Let's make it all honest. Let's go after these ideals that are supposed to say, we're going to do hard things that don't benefit us. I'm not going to steal, even though stealing's easier. I'm going to not kill because killing's easier. But those principles is what aligns with what I associate American to be. So 330-729-9977. Text me at 333-1570. You're listening to The Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Celebrating over 40 years in business, Boardman Coin and Jewelry. Market Street, Boardman, Great East Plaza, Niles. Buying it all. Gold, silver, diamonds, coins, jewelry, and watches. Come in. Get your best price before you sell. Boardman, Coin, and Jewelry buyers.
The dollar is in grave danger as Russia and China recruit more nations into their anti-dollar alliance known as BRICS. If this continues, how much longer until the dollar is worthless? Stephen K. Bannon here. I urge you to get Birch Gold's free info kit on safeguarding your savings into a gold IRA. To get your free copy, text the word safeguard to 989898. With inflation continuing to explode, it's critical you take action today. Text safeguard to 989898 right now.
The Fireplace Poland, Italian specialties plus wine by the bottle, a variety of beers and your favorite cocktails. Also root beer floats and sundaes.
The Fireplace Poland, 2075 East Western Reserve Road. Open Tuesday through Saturday at 4:30.
When it comes to immigration,
what's happening?
We have a secure border.
Dropping off large groups of illegal immigrants.
Crisis by ambush.
Check in at the top of the hour.
Inflation reduction.
And get the very latest.
It's historic.
Families can't afford gas, groceries, or electricity.
It's in Russia. So what is the right response when it comes to Putin?
The day's news.
Tell the truth.
Is on.
His regime, a terrorist state.
570 WKBN.
The Atlantic, now a Category 3 major hurricane, lashing the Turks and Caicos, and before that, delivering a blow to Puerto Rico, now crippled by torrential rain and power outages. ABC's Victor Oquendo is there.
It is going to take some time before power is fully restored to the island. The power company, Luma Energy, they say that it could be a matter of days, but the residents here who have been dealing with blackouts regularly, even without a storm hitting, say that they expect it to take longer than that.
World leaders gathering for the United Nations General Assembly in New York City. UN Secretary General opening the session, warning that nations are gridlocked, he says, in a colossal global dysfunction and unable to address humanitarian crisis and conflicts. In Ukraine, the separatists in Donetsk and Luhansk announcing that they'll hold votes this week, declaring they want to become part of Russia. That comes as Russia has been pushed back by Ukrainian forces in their counteroffensive operation in the Northeast region. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
We're a country of so many voices, yet some still struggle to be heard. Let your voice be heard. News Radio 570, WKBN.
Weather brought to you by Bryant and Mazza Heating and Cooling, keeping you comfortable year-round.
It's going to be a beautiful day with a mostly to partly sunny sky. Temperatures will return to the upper 70s this afternoon. Clouds will be increasing late this evening into tonight with a few showers or thunderstorms possible overnight. Overnight temperatures will fall to the low 60s. With your Storm Team 27 forecast, I'm Alex George.
Coming up on the Ben Ferguson podcast, Gavin Newsom is now begging the DOJ to investigate Governor DeSantis for kidnapping after he sends migrants to Martha's Vineyard. I'll explain the politics of all this. Download the Ben Ferguson podcast now.
You know, if you listen to news reports, you probably would never go look for an automobile, but you may need an automobile. And I want to recommend Columbiana Cadillac Buick Chevrolet. I know all the folks out there. It's where I bought my recent truck, and Steve Terabasi runs a great dealership. Now, here's the thing. You can go to drivecolumbiana.com and start chatting with a member right now. Simply go to drivecolumbiana.com. Great dealership in Columbiana, drivecolumbiana.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.com/free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free. ziprecruiter.com/free.
Man, this Greek food was fantastic. Where'd you find this place?
I researched online. They had the best reviews everywhere I looked.
Wow, the reviews were right. You see any other companies we need to try?
Well, now that you mention it, we do need to replace these old windows.
We've been putting it off. Who should we use?
Window Depot.
Window Depot?
That's right, Window Depot. They had a perfect 5-star rating on every review site.
Window Depot is the Valley's trusted local source for new triple pane windows. The third pane of glass offers superior energy efficiency, sound reduction, and condensation resistance. It's our Rake in the Fall Savings event. Save $1,000 on a house full of new windows. 18 months, same as cash, senior, and military discounts. And the first 10 callers at 1-800-433-8577 will receive a $50 Amazon gift card with purchase. Call 1-800-433-8577. 1-800-433-8577.
There's one noise that 85 people didn't want to hear. The judge's gavel when they were convicted for stealing taxpayer money. That's 85 corrupt public officials convicted because of State Auditor Keith Faber's work, like the village employee entrusted with collecting utility payments, convicted of stealing nearly $250,000. Keith Faber caught him. Or a deputy county auditor who stole more than $1 million by creating a fake company and invoicing the county. Keith Faber caught him. Or a sheriff who stole money from the evidence room. Keith Faber caught him.
This is Keith Faber, and I'm just getting started. From discovering and calling out $5 billion in unemployment fraud to weeding out government corruption, I'm watching out for your hard-earned tax dollars.
Faber. When public officials break the trust, Keith Faber's watching. Paid for by Friends of Faber.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers program. You can give me a text at 333-1570. Let me read you this quote by President Joe Biden. He says, "It's time to bury the label Rust Belt and call it something a bit more fitting. I like what my friends in Ohio call it Silicon Heartland." So how do you feel about Silicon Heartland being referred to as Ohio? Think of it in Columbus. We have a chip manufacturer right outside of Columbus. We have a battery manufacturing plant right outside of, or right in Lordstown. Ohio could be a central Midwest, silicon, like Silicon Valley in California. We could be a version of that here in Ohio. We have the manufacturing chops. We have the genius. We have tons of colleges that are churning out engineers that we could keep right here in the state of Ohio. We will be less dependent on the technology manufacturers in other countries. And so, again, those idealistic plans where if you want to keep it here, you've got to vote with your dollars, where you have to support those ventures and refer to ourselves. This is marketing. So how we describe ourselves and how we feel about ourselves, if we're constantly looking back at the past and associating ourselves with depressions and closures and the Rust Belt, then the reflection that you're going to have over the next era is just a shadow of that. The tons of people that want to change that language, and it's not a delusional fact. It's a moving on from facts. So I'm here with Joe Biden on this one, that we should start referring to ourselves as the Silicon Heartland. I think that's a good way of saying it. And if you like it or not, the gas prices are continuing to retreat. Whatever they're doing, releasing some of the strategic oil reserves, some economic policy that puts us back in the energy independence column. I am, again, if this is the result of that, that's amazing. If it's a temporary thing where once we stop doing the oil reserves, that the price goes back to a certain point, then that's not as great. But still, you got to give credit that if the goal was to reduce consumers' costs when it comes to energy, you have to give credit that is a good mode of, or a good move. So hats off to him. Let's see. Husband and I voted early and in person at the Board of Elections in 2020. When checking our voter records, it showed we both voted absentee. When I questioned this with both Board of Elections and Secretary of State of Ohio, the phone message, they were never returned, nor were emails and snail mail. Now, this is just an example of all of the fears that most of us have. When politicians know that there's a great source of absentee ballots, if they could inspire someone to put something in the mail, then that is the proper utilization. But whenever there is a system, there will always be corruption of that system. And it's up to us to figure out whether or not the corruption has tilted in a certain way where it is taking a majority control. So if there are more corrupt transactions than there are legitimate, right, then there's a tipping point where that the influence of corruption can sway an election. And then we have to make sure that our system is hardened against that. And there are ways that you do that. And let's let smart people figure out the ways that we harden those systems. If banks can figure out how to keep fraudulent transactions at bay, then the die is cast. How do you keep ballots that are corrupt at bay? Because if it was coming out of your bank account, right, you would care. And think about it that way. If there were votes cast that should have never been put in that ballot box, then there's fraud, and we got to keep those transactions from ever making it. And I don't want to make the system so cumbersome that we alienate people who do want to vote, because that's going in completely the opposite direction. But anybody who wants to cast a vote should be easy, but we need to have the ability to audit those out so that the fraud doesn't ruin the faith that we have on that system. 330-729-9977. QAnon. This is a question, an answer to the question that I had. QAnon believes that Democrats kill and eat children, then drink their blood. Check it out. Okay, well, yeah, that sounds a little bit over the top, and I find it hard to believe that that's a mainstream pursuit at this point. It would be easier for me to understand if a bunch of people who thought there was pedophilia going on and they were going to be the stop of it, they were going to put together some resistance to pedophilia. That would be understandable to get people cooperating in that. I'm halfway. I'm halfway willing to, add my support if we're going after politicians and people in high power positions that are pedophiles. I'll throw my hat in the ring behind ending that real quick. But QAnon, like I said, I don't know much about them other than that. Let's see, Puerto Rico. I didn't talk much about this, but if you even look, Puerto Rico got hit by a hurricane. It's a disaster where recently Joe Biden declared it a natural disaster so that we can extend the support of the federal government in helping these people bounce back from this. One irritating thing, Dan Rather, I don't know why I pay attention to him on Twitter, but his Twitter feed basically said, Puerto Rico, this happened, and we got to do something about climate change, right? And I hate that as how we word this, because it's hard to disagree with that. If climate change is causing disruption and chaos and hurting people, then yeah, let's go climate change, right? But the problem is that it's kind of like an empty sentiment. Like, what are you going to do about climate change? What is the response to climate change? I mean, United States, we're hardly the biggest offender on things that scientists and science has said is causing a shift in climate, or contributors to, maybe not causing, but contributors to. So even if we climate changed ourselves into, not doing anything, it would hardly affect it. So for Dan Rather to say, hey, let's get on board and do this climate change thing, it's a little bit bumper stickery, and it's free of meaning. So my feeling on it as a environmentalist, I love the outdoors. I think that waters and streams should be clean. I think we should have responsibility to keep and be as clean as possible. Cleaning up the environment is our duty as individuals. I think we all have that responsibility. If we enjoy it, we don't want to, make the places that we live unlivable, right? But I think that human beings, again, are so adaptable that we have this ability to roll with whatever these changes are. So let's just say that you have, we're ahead of all of the other countries in our industrial revolution. We have created and innovated, and technologically we're in great shape. There are countries that are 100 years where we were right now. So they're going through that. So to deprive them their industrial revolution to get to our spot, it feels a little wrong. Like, hey, we're here, but we're going to deny you getting here because you're doing it too dirty. But if you take a look back, we were just as dirty, if not dirtier, when we were going through that phase. We just happened to be one of the first countries to become industrialized, and we survived it. But innovations and technologies, we can help those countries get through it without creating as much of the disaster as we, were created. But I think if it's already in the cards that it's going to happen, and we don't have the ability to stop it from happening, then we need to adapt our ways out of it happening. It's going to happen slowly. If the temperatures are going to rise and the sea levels are going to rise, then we have tons of years to be able to adapt out of it and figure out how to, we have two choices: escape the planet and go somewhere else where it's not happening and decide not to do it on another planet, or we could just agree that it's probably going to happen. We're going to make some efforts that might slow it down a little bit and buy us years, but let's make it so that the seas rise, that the people that are on the coast are protected from it, or we build seawalls, or we do something to reverse the process. And we put our innovations not into doing stuff that doesn't work, figuring out stuff that does work, and putting our efforts into making those changes happen. Anyway, some of the downside, like my engineering brain starts going through some of these. So if the temperatures get hotter and you create more famine, right, because you're going to have more droughts, and then it's going to be harder to raise crops. All of this stuff, like, your brain should be going on, how do we solve that? All right. Well, we create, I think our farming, the way that we do that right now is a disaster. I think the food that we're feeding people are terrible anyway, because of the monocrop agriculture. We're stripping the land of its nutritional value, and the food that we're selling has terrible nutritional value. So I think the whole thing deserves to be reinvented. We are feeding a population, and we're overproducing, and we're stripping the actual value out of the food that we eat, because we're doing it for high volume instead of density and quality. Then you have wildfires, you have floods, you have severe storms, you have some species that are going to disappear and become extinct. And then you have disease, and you have poverty. And all of these things already have examples in our society of how we combat them. And it's just a matter of, let's not vilify the things that aren't going to change things, right? And let's put our efforts into enabling smart people to get on these problems and spend the same amount of money that you are going to plan on spending on not solving the problem, and spend it on the, let's wave the white flag on combating it in ways that won't work, and give the money to people to help us adapt and create technologies that will help us survive. There was on Mars, we have this rover that's going around, and one of its obligation is take carbon dioxide compact it and make oxygen from it, because we're going to need fuels, and we need this little device to convert carbon dioxide to oxygen, right? So Mars is already giving us sort of the little samples of what we could probably do here in the United States. So if I were to guess, in 10 years, we're going to have created technology for, we got to take the ecosystem and the terrain, and we're going to have to change it on Mars to make it livable. Well, we're going to be able to take some of those technologies back here and do the same thing in our deal. What if 10 years from now, we can take all the carbon dioxide that's been contributing to the increase in temperature, scrub it from the atmosphere, and then return it to, roll the clock back 10, 15, 20 years. So I don't think we stop it, but our technologies could buy us more time as our technologies catch up with what we want it to do. So 333-1570, this says, Joe, I'm not giving credit at all to them for reducing the gas prices temporarily, because the low-life Biden administration is the reason the prices increased in the first place. And Brandon Timmy Boy and the Democrats. So, and again, you're free to do that. And I'm like I don't know either way. So I kind of take a step back and watch what happens, and the data will tell the story of what happens. And do I think the policies make energy prices better? Probably not. It creates disruptions. And, I had a big problem with this whole inflation bill that they put together, right? Because there was very little in there that I felt what causes inflation was addressed within that legislation. And the problem with that is, the majority of people, when they see the government pass something that's supposed to tackle a big issue, once you spend the money and see that happens, and then if inflation doesn't subside, or it doesn't do what it was supposed to, the next time we pass an inflation bill, right? How much faith does the public have that the politicians are going to be able to provide what is actually in the name of the bill, right? That it's going to be funded. Right. It's trickery. I have a problem with all these bills that are misnamed for political purposes because of marketing, that it makes it harder to trust the next bill that doesn't really do or doesn't try to tackle the problem that it's being purported to solve. Let's see. Text messenger. You can keep texting me. I'll keep reading these. 333-1570. Joe, you say you like the reaction to Trump trolling. Nobody makes this echo chamber more apoplectic than Emmanuel. I do. And in fact, I don't have a lot of respect for the system in general. It's not like a religion. It's not sacred, right? The institution of government is totally replaceable. If it's not doing a good job, we scrunch it up and we throw it away and we create another one. It's not so, trenched out that it feels like it is over top of you. It is actually below you. The people have the power, the states have the power, the federal government, as much as it would like to say that it is your overseer, it really is not. And so when Trump, one of the I guess the most appealing things about his personality was he was going to punch the swamp. The swamp to me means that the people who are have so much power that they're untouchables. If Trump could punch that person in the face and get them so they have no more power, I am all for that. And I don't care if Trump has snakes coming out of his heads. If he can punch that guy and get him out of power or disrupt it or bring transparency to that person, all for it. So when I say he's a troll, he's a person that doesn't really care about pissing off the people who would normally be able to destroy just about anybody. For some reason, they can't take him down. So he's the perfect person to keep barbing and prodding at the people who used to be untouchable, like an Elliot Ness of politicians. And I know that's romanticizing his real personality, but I'm using that as an absurd example of if there's one attribute that he possesses, that he's not afraid to punch those people in the face, and that part of his personality I'll truly support. So 330-729-9977 or text me at 333-1570. One little segment, and then we'll get out of here for the day. You're listening to The Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN.
Happy Tuesday, friends. Hey, Dan Rivers for Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Just thinking, maybe you're thinking about installing a new hardwood floor and wondering which species to choose. There's a lot of them. So anyway, visual appearance is not the only factor to consider when choosing a species for the flooring. That's why you've got me. You can take a look at the Jonka hardness scale, and you can learn more. And if you'd like to learn more, you simply go to Baird Brothers and then look under what's new. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, 7060 Croy Road, Canfield. And by the way, they ship all over the United States. They deliver locally. They're just a fine organization. Steve Stack has this little thing called Studio 3B. You are going to learn more about how to do things than you can ever imagine. And Baird Brothers, they have the product. It is fantastic. They've held the line on the prices. Baird Brothers, 7060 Croy Road, Canfield, BairdBrothers.com. Check them out, will you?
The Kingston Trio returns to Ohio and will be performing at the Dior Performing Arts Center on October 2nd.
Well, let me tell you of the story of a man named Charlie.
Fans of the legendary folk icons, the Kingston Trio, can rediscover their timeless music all over again. All three current members have direct ties to the original group. Come relive your fondest memories of the Kingston Trio at the Dior Performing Arts Center, Sunday, October 2nd. For more information and tickets, go to KingstonTrio.com. That's KingstonTrio.com.
We want to buy your vehicle. We'll pay you top dollar and get you out from under your current loan or lease at Fairway Ford in Canfield. In most cases, we can get you out of your loan or lease today. It doesn't matter who your lease or loan is through. We are paying the most for all makes and any models. Do you want out of your car payments? Call us at 330-533-FORD. That's 330-533-FORD or fairwayfordohio.com. Fairway, that's the way we do business.
People thought they could get away with it. Public officials breaking the public trust and laughing all the way to the bank.
This is Keith Faber. You can be sure they're not laughing now.
85 corrupt public officials convicted because of Faber's work. But that's not all. Then, Faber helped uncover $5 billion in unemployment fraud. Did you hear the one about the guy who went to the state auditor's office to clean things up? It's Keith Faber.
And it's no joke. As your auditor of state, I hold these people accountable. It's serious business. I'm proud we helped convict 85 dishonest public officials. That's because government corruption is like inflation you never see. You pay more and get less.
Keith Faber, endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police. Vote Corruption Fighting Keith Faber for State Auditor. Paid for by Friends of Faber.
You know, there comes a time in your life when you can still paint, but should you? Not when you have somebody like Rockwood in your backyard. Rockwood Painting. All employees are drug tested, background checked. They are the Valley's premier repaint specialist. Fully equipped to handle all interior and exterior painting projects. They're now booking for fall. Call the painters I trust. Rockwood on Klingon Road, 330-707-1556. RockwoodPainting.com.
Tired of the news about how everything is costing more?
Everything is stubbornly high.
Us too. That's why we made the iHeartRadio app absolutely free. When you download the free iHeartRadio app, you have radio stations you love at your fingertips whenever you want, wherever you want, along with millions of podcasts from the news you crave to the true crime series you can't resist. Playlists to fit any mood or activity. And here's the part you don't want to miss. It's all free. Download the free iHeartRadio app and discover music, radio, and podcasts you'll love.
iHeartRadio. All right, I got your Storm Team 27 forecast brought to you by Team Office. Today, we got a high of 79 degrees, no rain. Tomorrow, high of 86 degrees with a chance of thunderstorms. And then Thursday, chance of rain, high of 65, and it is 74 degrees here in good old Youngstown, Ohio. Texter says, Elliot Ness, you mean the guy who is ready to get brought down by Ness's successors, like the Untouchables Capone? We'll see. We'll see if what happens, whether or not the FBI is just an extension of a political process or there was wrongdoing. And I'm a rule of law kind of guy, so that if somebody broke the rules, it should apply universally to everyone. I don't care if you're a police officer, politician, or business owner, just regular Joe. You break the rules, you get the consequences across the board. I was watching the Bills game last night. I think I was watching Bills game. By the way, Alan, he's the real deal. I was switching back and forth between Philadelphia and Buffalo, and I saw a Tim Ryan commercial, and it was money. Like this commercial where he was throwing the football at the monitor screens, that was a really well done commercial. So it feels like the old Tim Ryan, his personality is coming through in some of the stuff that he's interfacing. Maybe he's being a little bit more of a moderate. Anyway, great commercial by the Tim Ryan campaign. Anyway, we'll be back tomorrow. You guys have a great day. We'll see you. This has been the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. Have a great one.